Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Tom Wanless. I'm a lieutenant with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division, and I will be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing regarding the resolution passed by the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County. It is 5:31. We're a little bit late, and this hearing is now in session, and it is being recorded. With me tonight from the DNR, on my left, your right, is Sergeant Jason Becker. He is an area law supervisor, and he oversees Oakland and Genesee County, correct? Genesee counties. There's no other law enforcement agency in here, so are there any appointed or elected governmental officials here tonight? If so, please stand, state your name and your position so you can be recognized. All right, thank you. Some background information. The DNR is responsible for the administration of Part 801, Marine Safety, of Public Act 451, the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. The Act identifies the DNR as the only entity that can establish additional or local regulations on the waters of the state for recreational purposes. The Act also provides a process for the local political subdivision to request the DNR to investigate the need for a local regulation. By law, local regulations can only be considered to assure the compatibility of use and to protect public safety when existing laws cannot adequately do so. Although near to the DNR's mission, environment, habitat, erosion, wildlife, and other concerns cannot be considered. Excuse me. This is a condensed summary of the process. Upon receiving an official resolution from a local political subdivision, the DNR shall initiate an investigation and inquiry. Part of that process includes conducting a hearing to collect public comments. Upon the completion of the investigation and public hearing, the department will review the pertinent information and provide a recommendation to the local political subdivision. Depending on the request in the resolution, whether it be specific for something very specific or something more broad-based that just says, hey, we need help, the recommendation may be what was submitted by the local unit of government. It could be no change, or it could be something else. The local political subdivision will then have 60 days to approve or disapprove any recommendation of change by the DNR. If approved and a local ordinance is adopted, the language of the ordinance must be identical to the DNR's recommendation. Tonight's hearing is regarding the Charter Township of Bloomfield's request that the Department of Natural Resources consider establishing an electric motor only and a slow no wake local watercraft control on several lakes, including Chalmers Lake. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested an opportunity to provide information that the DNR can use in determining a recommendation on the township's resolution. Please recognize the DNR can only use information if it relates to the compatibility of uses and public safety on the water body when making our recommendation. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the township's request. We will be happy to make that note of your position, but please understand that the DNR is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether there is widespread support or opposition to any restrictions. I believe there was some misinformation being circulated when this process started regarding the current regulations, the township's request, and the process going forward. The township created certain ordinances attempting to control and regulate watercraft, including prohibiting certain motorized vessels on these lakes, Chalmers Lake included. When establishing these ordinances, the township did not have the authority to create these watercraft ordinances, making them invalid and unenforceable. The township is now trying to establish local controls through the proper process and has requested the DNR to investigate the need for these local controls as described in Part 801. So the procedures for tonight. As you came in this evening, We request that you get signed in. So there's a sign-in sheet back there for Chalmers Lake. Please sign in for that. You are also given an opportunity to fill out a public comment sheet. Anyone wishing to comment must fill out a comment sheet and indicate if you wish to make a comment during the hearing or just provide a written comment on the form. We will use these sheets to maintain a record of those attending, any written comments, and to call upon those who would like to speak tonight. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. I will call on those who have indicated on the public comment sheet that they would like to speak in the general order in which we received the sheets. When the individuals who requested to speak have completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, face me, and make your statement. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me as you come to the microphone. As you begin your comments, please state your name and address and any group or association that you may represent. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have somewhere around 30 seconds left. Please begin to wrap up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Also recognize that we are here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed watercraft controls and to listen to those comments. The DNR is here to collect information pertinent, additional information pertinent. Okay, let me try this again. It's going to be a long night. The DNR is here to collect additional pertinent information regarding this proposal. This meeting is not an exchange between the individuals providing comments and us. However, I may ask a clarifying question. How this information is going to be used. This hearing is being recorded, and your comments will be a part of the information the DNR may consider in making its recommendation on the township's proposed resolution. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 30 days after today. You may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Additional information and comments may be submitted to the address or the email on the sheet that's located in the back of the room. You'll see there's a mailing address as well as an email address where you can send that stuff. Following the close of the 30-day public comment period, the DNR will provide a recommendation to the township's proposal and submit it to them. The DNR and township officials work together to schedule the public hearing for the 10 lakes which were identified in the resolutions for convenience and availability. There will be 5 hearings tonight, and each will be scheduled for a specific start time. In the event we have not completed all of the public speaking requests 5 minutes prior to the start of the next public hearing, the hearing will be temporarily adjourned, and start the next meeting on time. We will resume the original hearing later this evening when time permits. Everyone who wishes to speak will have the opportunity. I would like to read a note from the sheriff. The sheriff's not here tonight. They had a representative here last week. And so I just told them that I would read a comment from the sheriff here. So this came from your sheriff. It says, the sheriff wants the record to reflect that he supports Bloomfield Township's efforts to keep watercraft controls under local control. Watercraft controls is best suited by the residents and the community. They should decide what they want and can make their choices appropriately. As the way the lakes are currently designated, there hasn't been any issues. There is simply no need to change. By changing the designation from electric to an all-sports lake, it will have an impact on the homeowners and why they specifically purchased their property. Furthermore, if the designation changes, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office will have to be on those lakes to handle boating-related complaints and incidences. So that is a statement that was made by the sheriff. Let me set that over there because I'll need it again. With that, I know some people came in a little bit late. We have a couple people that wish to speak. Go ahead and we have them. We have one. Oh, you got a new one, so I can get rid of this one. All right. You want to speak at this one?
Sure.
You want to do? Okay. All right. So, Martin, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me help too with something I've neglected to do this beforehand. There you go. You can
Oh.
see better.
I still can't see, but that's fine. Great.
Good evening. My name is Martin Brook. I'm the Bloomfield Township Clerk, and I'm here on behalf of the Board of Trustees. The Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees, pursuant to a resolution adopted on October 23rd, asks the DNR to approve the proposed ordinances. The 10 lakes we are discussing during today's and prior public hearings are presently non-motorboat lakes. 8 are under 65 acres, and most of those are half that size or smaller, such as Chalmers, which is a mere 19 acres. Happens to be also near my home, so I walk around it often. As far as township records reveal, since the 1950s, residents have wanted these lakes to be free from internal combustion motorboats. As you'll hear, they still do. The fact is, actually, I can try. 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the deadline. I have too much to say. As far as the township records reveal, since the 1950s, residents have wanted these lakes to be free from internal combustion motors, and they still do. The fact is that through a neighborhood agreement, deed restrictions, or other ordinances, valid or invalid, these small lakes have been non-motorized for 60 years. The presence of conflicts, complaints, and accidents, and whether existing law adequately regulates the lakes are some of the statutory factors you've already mentioned. And these lakes are safe and free of complaints, accidents, or conflicts, simply because of the long-standing historical expectation and the township ordinances prohibiting motorboating. People want to keep it that way. Free and safe of conflicts, complaints, and accidents. And there is a written comment for the rest of that there, and thank you for agreeing to allow me to just submit these for the rest of the evening and save ourselves a little bit of time of me going through this each hearing. Thanks a bunch.
Do you want to, at least, you always summed everything up last.
I'm good. You've got the rest of it.
You're good? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I got to keep that one up there. Okay. Okay, and I am going to, just so that everybody knows, even though there's not a lot of people in this room, I don't want to slaughter anybody's name, but I'm telling you in advance, there's a good chance that I will probably slaughter somebody's name because I'm just, so just letting you know that I apologize up front. Is it Bluma? I got it right.
Can I tell you over here?
Yep, no, please walk over so you're in the mic. It's being recorded.
I'm being recorded, okay.
Yes.
My name is Bluma Schechter. You want my address, 1448 Lakewood Road, Bloomfield, obviously, in the Woodcrest subdivision. I have been a homeowner there for 36 years, and one of the reasons that we bought there was that there were no motors. And representing myself, no other person, other than some of my neighbors, even though they haven't told me outright to represent them, we believe that we should keep it no motors, because we bought there not only for the beauty, but for being quiet, for our children, our grandchildren's safety, and we hope to keep it that way. Questions?
Okay,
That's it?
that's it.
Okay.
Painless. And I guess that's another thing I apologize too is if you do come up here and speak, you will see us with our heads down making notes and stuff. Don't be offended by that. It's because we're just trying to capture, even though it's being recorded, I still want to make notes and that type of thing. So thank you. Samantha Steckloff. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Very impressed. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm State Representative Samantha Steckloff. I represent the 19th District, which is Southern Bloomfield and majority of the village. I am just here to speak in support of local control from Bloomfield Township. We keep discussing incidents reports and things like that, and the reason, we don't have these things is because this community has been so dedicated to the safety of their own lakes, and I just think it's really important that we maintain the local control of this beautiful community. So I'm just here in support of the local community, the local government, and many of those who are here to speak. So thank you.
So, well, she said she's in support of the individual. So, are you going to be here all night?
No.
Okay. I just didn't know if you were going to be here all night, because I know that Representative Steele was here last week, and she came in a little bit late. She was here for three or four of them. So, okay. Thank you. 547. Valerie Murray. Is it Murray?
Yep.
You sure? Okay.
Good evening.
Hello.
So, from last week, I am in total support of local control. It's been working. There are no accidents. I have access to an all sports lake that is 2 times to 10 times the size of these individual lakes. And I can tell you it's not always that safe on that lake. So to allow an all sports designation for these very small lakes, that the residents are happy. There have been no accidents, no injuries. They don't require the sheriff to be on the lake, whereas we have to have a sheriff to keep people in line. So I totally support what Clerk Brooks said, and I am in support of keeping gas-powered engines off the lake and electric-powered limited to 10 miles per hour, no wake. Thank you.
See, it's really nice when you, thank you. It's really nice when you folks write your comments down on here, because then I don't have to take as many notes. I can just highlight stuff and circle stuff and draw lines through it. So, yeah, you did.
We were punchy.
That's last. Okay. Okay. Is there anyone else in here that would like to make a statement? Going once? Going twice? We're not gone.
If you have photocopies, I could just have multiple.
5 times, or 4 times, I should
Yeah.
say.
So, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm Michael Shostak. I'm the township treasurer. I'm just here to support my residents, my constituents. They know the lakes, so. Just to echo what they said. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel Abraham.
My name is Rachel Abraham. I am a longtime Bloomfield Hills resident, new to the Wing Lake area on Thurber. I'm also a realtor within the community. I do have several clients that specifically look for motor versus non-motor lakes. And the ones that want non-motor. It's very specified. They don't want all the craziness. They don't want all of the disruption. They just want a nice, peaceful place to go out onto, electric motor being, their preference. So, as well as being, like I said, a new resident on Wing Lake, I grew up here, and it's been nice not having it motorized, and I think it should stay that way, personally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep, I was just reading your. Anyone else? For Chalmers Lake. Okay, with that, I have a closing statement. Thank you for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest and that you took time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Following the close of the public comment period, we will review all pertinent information and submit our recommendation on the requested proposal at a later date. This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Wanless. I'm a lieutenant with the Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division. If you stick around all night, you're going to hear this all over again. I'll be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing regarding the resolution passed by the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County. It is 6 o'clock, and this hearing is now in session, and it is being recorded. With me tonight from the DNR is Sergeant Jason Becker. He's over here on my left, your right. He's the area law supervisor who oversees the officers and the operations within Oakland and Genesee counties. Are there any appointed or elected governmental officials here tonight? If so, please stand, state your name, your position, so that you can be recognized, please.
Hi again. I'm State Representative Sam Steckhoff to everyone in here. And I wish you guys the best of luck in your law keeping ahead.
This is our second one. So we did it last Friday, or last Thursday.
It looks pretty good right now.
Yeah.
It is quite tonight. Down Murray, Bloomfield Township trustee.
All right, Martin waved to me back there, so on the record, Martin Brook is here too. Okay, the DNR is responsible for the administration of Part 801, Marine Safety, of Public Act 451, the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. The Act identifies the DNR as the only entity that can establish additional or local regulations on the waters of this state for recreational purposes. The Act also provides a process for local political subdivisions to request the DNR to investigate the need for a local regulation. By law, local regulations can only be considered to ensure the compatibility of uses and to protect public safety when existing laws cannot adequately do so. Although near to the DNR's mission, environmental, habitat, erosion, wildlife, and other concerns cannot be considered. This is a condensed summary of the process. Upon receiving an official resolution from the local political subdivision, the DNR shall initiate an investigation and inquiry. Part of that process includes conducting a hearing to collect public comments. Upon the completion of the investigation and the public hearing, the department will review the pertinent information and provide a recommendation to the local political subdivision. Depending on the request in the resolution, whether it's something specific or just a broad-based, hey, we need help, the recommendation may be what was submitted by the local government. It could be no change, or it could be something else. The local political subdivision will then have 60 days to approve or disapprove any recommendations of change by the DNR. If approved, and a local ordinance is adopted, the language of the ordinance must be identical to the DNR's recommendation. Tonight's hearing is regarding the Charter Township of Bloomfield's request that the Department of Natural Resources consider establishing an electric motor only and a slow-no wake local watercraft control on several lakes, including Meadow Lake. This is for Meadow Lake. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested an opportunity to provide information that the DNR can use in determining a recommendation on the township's resolution. Please recognize the DNR can only use information if it relates to the compatibility of uses and public safety on the water body when making our recommendation. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the township's request. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that the DNR is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether there is widespread support or opposition to any restrictions. I believe there was some misinformation being circulated when this process started regarding the current regulations, the township's request, and the process going forward. The township created certain ordinances attempting to control and regulate watercraft, including prohibiting certain motorized vessels on several lakes, Meadow Lake being one. When establishing these ordinances, the township did not have the authority to create these watercraft ordinances, making them invalid and unenforceable. The township is now trying to establish local controls through the proper process and has requested the DNR to investigate the need for these local controls as described in Part 801. As you came in this evening, we request that you sign in. So everyone, I believe, has signed in the back. You're also given the opportunity to fill out a public comment sheet. Anyone wishing to comment must fill out a comment sheet and indicate if you wish to make a comment during the hearing or just provide a written comment on the form. We will use these sheets to maintain a record of those attending, any written comments, and to call upon those who would like to speak tonight. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. I will call on those who have indicated on the public comment sheet that they would like to speak in the general order in which we received the sheets. When the individuals who requested to speak have completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the podium, face me, and make your statement. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me on your way to the microphone. As you begin your comments, please state your name and address very clearly and any group or association that you may represent. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have 30 minutes left. Please begin to wrap up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt a speaker. Also recognize that we, the DNR, are here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed watercraft controls and to listen to those comments. The DNR is here to collect additional pertinent information regarding this proposal. This meeting is not an exchange between the individuals providing comments and us. However, I may ask a clarifying question. How this information will be used. This hearing is being recorded and your comments will be part of the information the DNR may consider in making its recommendation on the township's proposed resolution. The public comment period for this public hearing is open 30 days after today. You may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Additional information and comments may be submitted to the address or email address on the sheet located in the back of the room where the sign-in sheets are. Following the close of the 30-day public comment period, the DNR will provide a recommendation to the township's proposal and submit it to them. The DNR and township officials work together to schedule the public hearings for the 10 lakes which were identified in the resolutions for convenience and availability. There will be 5 hearings tonight. We already completed 5 last week, and each has been scheduled for a specific time to start. In the event we have not completed all of the public speaking requests 5 minutes prior to the start of the next public hearing, the hearing will be temporarily adjourned to start the next meeting on time. We will resume the original hearing later this evening when time permits. Everyone who wishes to speak will have the opportunity. I would like to read a note from your sheriff, and shortly after that, I'll call upon anyone who wishes to speak. So again, this is coming from Sheriff Picard here. I said that wrong, didn't I? How do you say it again? Bouchard. Yes, I know him. So anyway, I apologize. Mike Bouchard. The sheriff wants, and this was presented last week, and so I'm reading it in front of all 5 of these hearings tonight. The sheriff wants the record to reflect that he supports Bloomfield Township's efforts to keep watercraft controls under local control. Watercraft control is best suited by the residents and the community. They should decide what they want and can make their choices appropriately. Excuse me. As the way the lakes are currently designated, there hasn't been any issues. there is simply no need to change. By changing the designation from electric only to all sports, it will have an impact on the homeowners and why they specifically purchased their property. Furthermore, if the designation changes, Oakland County Sheriff's Office will have to be on those lakes to handle boating-related complaints and incidences. That is from the sheriff. And I'll have to say his name 4 more times tonight. I'm sure that I apologize. I'll screw it up like I will just about anybody's. In addition to that, unless Martin, you want to say something very quickly, it's up to you. In addition to that, I have a well-crafted 3-page document that Martin Brook, he's going to come up and, are you coming up to talk?
Well, I actually had stepped out for a minute, so did we have anybody?
I don't believe anybody is there anybody? We don't have any sign-in sheets, so no, we don't have anybody. So it's up to you if you want to go on record, or I can just say that you...
I could quickly go on record.
Go ahead.
I'll do the same thing, but
Okay.
Martin Brook, Bloomfield Township Clerk. I'm here on behalf of the Township Board. The Township Board of Trustees, pursuant to a resolution adopted on October 23rd, asks the DNR to approve the proposed ordinances. The 10 lakes we're discussing today and prior public hearings are presently no motorboat lakes. And as far as the township records reveal, since the 1950s, residents have wanted these lakes to be free from internal combustion motors. As you will hear, they still do. I've gone through much of this on the other lakes, and you've agreed to maintain my comments for this lake and the other lakes we've got. But I just want to mention that the present uses for each of these lakes is swimmers, stand-up paddlers, sailors, kayakers, and the fear is that would be disrupted by the introduction of motorboats or any other high-speed boating. And therefore, the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees requests the DNR approve the proposed ordinances so that the lakes will remain no motorboat lakes, but also preclude high-powered electric motors and/or preclude the operation above slow no-wake speeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, you don't want to be a rebel today. Look at you go. All right, you might as well jump right up there.
Good evening, Valerie Murray, Bloomfield Township Trustee. I support 100% the resolution from the township to maintain local control. I support everything that Clerk Brook has stated in writing or verbally. It's a safety issue. The residents want it this way. We've had no problems this way for 50 years. They're just too small to consider anything beyond the 10 mile per hour electric motors, and gas motors are noisy and bad for the environment and the wildlife. So I request that you stay with Bloomfield Township and the local control of these lakes. Thank you.
Okay, we have no more public comment sheets. Is there anybody else that wishes to make a comment here and now for Meadow Lake? Okay, there is seeing nobody else wishing to make a comment. Thank you for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest and that you took the time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Following the close of the public comment period, the DNR will review all pertinent information and submit our recommendation on the requested proposal at a later date. This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you and have a good night. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Wanless. I'm a lieutenant with the DNR Law Enforcement Division, and I will be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing regarding a resolution passed by the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County. It's 6:30, and this hearing is now in session, and it is being recorded as well. With me tonight from the DNR on my left is Sergeant Jason Becker. He is the area law supervisor for Oakland and Genesee counties. He oversees the officers and the day-to-day operations in this area. Are there any appointed or elected governmental officials here tonight? If so, can you please stand, state your name and your position so you can be recognized?
Michael Shostak, Township Treasurer.
Dale Murray, Township Trustee. Danny Walsh, Township Supervisor.
Okay, thank you very much. The DNR is responsible for the administration of Part 801, Marine Safety, of Public Act 451, the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. The Act identifies the DNR as the only entity that can establish additional or local regulations on the waters of this state for recreational purposes. The Act also provides for a process for local political subdivisions to request the DNR to investigate the need for a local regulation. By law, local regulations can only be considered to assure the compatibility of uses and to protect public safety when existing laws cannot adequately do so. Although near to the DNR's mission, environmental, habitat, erosion, wildlife, and other concerns cannot be considered. Here's a quick condensed version of the process. Upon receiving an official resolution from a local political subdivision, the DNR shall initiate an investigation and inquiry. Part of that process includes conducting a hearing to collect public comments. Upon the completion of the investigation and public hearing, the department will review the pertinent information and provide a recommendation to the local political subdivision. Depending on the request in the resolution, whether it's something specific or it's something more broad-based like we need help, the recommendation may be what was submitted by the local government, it may be no change, or the recommendation may be something else. The local political subdivision will then have 60 days to approve or disapprove any recommendation of change by the DNR. If approved, any local ordinance and a local ordinance is adopted, the language of the ordinance must be identical to the DNR's recommendation. Tonight's hearing is regarding the Charter Township of Bloomfield's request that the Department of Natural Resources consider establishing an electric motor only and a slow, no-wake local watercraft control on several lakes. Wabeek? Did I say it right? Okay, Wabeek. Is it Wabeek Lake or Lake Wabeek? Wabeek? Just Wabeek? Wabeek Lake? Okay, all right. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested the opportunity to provide information that the DNR can use in determining a recommendation on the township's resolution. Please recognize the DNR can only use information if it relates to the compatibility of uses and public safety on the water body when making our recommendation. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the township's request. We will be happy to make note of your position. But please understand that the DNR is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether there is widespread support or opposition to any restrictions or regulations. I believe there was some miscommunication being circulated when this process started regarding current regulations, the township's request, and the process moving forward. The township created certain ordinances attempting to control and regulate watercraft, including prohibiting certain motorized vessels on several lakes, Wabeek Lake included. When establishing these ordinances, the township did not have the authority to create these watercraft ordinances, making them invalid and unenforceable. The township is now trying to establish local controls through the proper process and has requested the DNR to investigate the need for these local controls as described in Part 801. As you came in this evening, we request that you sign in. There should be a sign-in sheet back there for each of the 3 lakes. There's 3 lakes left, 3 different public hearings tonight. So whichever one you are here, or those that you're here for, please sign in to them. You are also given an opportunity to fill out a public comment sheet. There should be some public comment sheets back there. Anyone wishing to comment must fill out a comment sheet and indicate if you wish to make a comment during the hearing or just provide a written comment on the form. We will use these sheets to maintain a record of those attending, any written comments, and to call upon those who wish to speak. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. I will call on those who have indicated on the public comment sheet that they would like to speak, in the general order in which we received the sheets. When the individuals who requested to speak have completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, face me, and make your statement. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me as you come to the microphone. As you begin your comments, please state your name and address clearly and any group or association you may represent. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have 30 seconds left. Again, or please begin to wrap up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. Hey, can you do me a quick favor? Can you go grab one of those public comment sheets? Because I sent them all out there, and if we need to make more copies, apologize, folks. One's fine. Okay, I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Also, recognize that we are here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed watercraft controls and to listen to those comments. The DNR is here to collect additional pertinent information regarding this proposal. This meeting is not an exchange between the individuals providing comments and us. However, I may ask a clarifying question. How this information is going to be used. This hearing is being recorded, and your comments will be part of the information the DNR may consider in making its recommendation on the township's proposed resolution. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 30 days after today. You may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Additional information and comments may be submitted to the address of the email on the sheet located in the back of the room. There's a couple of sheets back there with the information on there. Following the close of the 30-day public comment period, the DNR will provide a recommendation on the township's proposal and submit it to them. The DNR and township officials work together to schedule the public hearings for the 10 lakes, which were identified in the resolutions for convenience and availability. We have 5 that we are doing tonight. We've already completed 2. This is the 3rd one. There'll be 5 hearings tonight, and each is going to be scheduled for a specific time to start. In the event we have not completed all of the public speaking requests 5 minutes prior to the start of the next public hearing, the hearing will be temporarily adjourned to start the next meeting on time. We will resume the original hearing later this evening when time permits. Everyone who wishes to speak will have the opportunity. Now I would like to read just a quick comment, if I can find it. It's right here in front of me. That came from, and I'm going to slaughter it again, from your sheriff here in Oakland County. He wanted this put on record. So it says, the sheriff wants the record to reflect that he supports Bloomfield Township's efforts to keep watercraft controls under local control. Watercraft control is best suited by the residents and the community. They should decide what they want and can make their choices appropriately. As the way the lakes are currently designated, there haven't been any issues. There is simply no need to change. By changing the designation from electric only to all sports, it will have an impact on the homeowners and why they specifically purchased their property. Furthermore, if the designation changes, Oakland County Sheriff's Office will have to be on those lakes to handle boating-related complaints and incidences. Sorry, I'm juggling a lot of paperwork. Martin, is Martin in here? Okay. So just real quick here. Oh, you are in here. Okay, I didn't see you there. I was looked right past you. Okay. Did you want to make a quick comment just because you're here? And do you want to make a comment, or do you want me to just let them know that you provided documentation? Okay. And if I miss something, jump up and do it. Okay. So real quick, Martin Brook, he is the township clerk for Bloomfield Township. He has drafted a very well-crafted, he's revised it multiple times, document that he has provided at every one of these public hearings, both last week and so far today and through the end of the night. That basically states that he wants to encourage the Department of Natural Resources to support the recommendations set forth in the resolutions by the township and have us make that as our recommendation. He went on and provided some statistics and some data on some of this, on some of the lakes and some of the information, some of the concerns that people have expressed. So I'm just summing that up very quickly for him. And Martin, if there's anything that you want to add, feel free.
No, the only thing I'd mention is it's my comments are on behalf of Township Board. That's just mine personally.
Yes, I'm sorry. If I did not say that, I apologize. I meant to say that. Okay,
Thank you for doing that.
cool. Okay. Yeah, that's he just wanting us, encouraging us to pass, wanting us to make our recommendation be the resolution, to support the resolution that the township sent to us for no electric or for electric motors only and for slow no wake. So, and we have a couple of comments, Does anybody want to speak on? That's for this lake, Wabeek. So the first individual that wishes to speak is it Laura Roby?
Yeah, but I'm gonna wait,
You're gonna wait?
or just document it, in writing.
Oh, okay. Nope, not a problem. You can do that. Perfect. Valerie.
Good evening, Valerie Murray, Bloomfield Township trustee. I support maintaining the local control of the township. No wake, electric motors to stay under 10 miles per hour for the safety, the environment. It's what the residents want. And the size of the lakes dictates that this is the safest way to go. And the fact there's been no accidents or incidents, and they don't require the sheriff to come out because they're all happy and respectful of that policy. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, folks, I see we're starting to get more people in here. If you come up to the podium and you're talking to us, if our heads are down, please don't take offense to that. It's just because we're making notes and we're trying to capture information. So please do not take offense to that. Miss Township Supervisor.
I know you're getting sick of hearing the same things, but
That's
I have a new audience tonight.
That's
so
right.
Unlike Thursday,
and you got a new audience out here too, and that's why we want you to say it at every meeting.
Right.
Go ahead.
So you know that my main concern obviously is to always protect what the residents like and what makes us special. So I know that although it doesn't necessarily matter that we're different than West Bloomfield and all these other all sports, safety always matters. As I've mentioned, my friend's 2 children were killed on Sylvan Lake, so all sports lakes does bring some danger to the lakes. But you mentioned uses of the lake, and as somebody who's only ever experienced public lakes, since I don't live on a lake, I live down from Wing Lake, so I don't have access. I had never truly experienced what we consider a private lake. So when one of the residents asked me to go on Forest Lake and really see, it is night and day, and I see why people gravitate to these lakes, because there's uses you won't see on all sports lakes. When I was on Forest Lake, first of all, it was the most peaceful experience I've ever had on a lake. And there were paddle boards happening. There were people swimming across the lake. There were children playing that could actually yell and say hi, and you could hear them. The amount of activity that I saw on this lake was actually more prominent along the areas that were a little further. Normally on an all sports lake, these children have to stay right up against it's too dangerous to come out. These kids were having fun jumping off floats. They were doing all these other things that you can't do as a child on an all sports lake, or you could end up like my French children. So in addition to safety, in addition to serenity, in addition to uses you won't see in other lakes, and again, if we're talking about really using all of it, I would beg that we stick with the ordinances that we have as the request of the people.
Thank you. Any others? You don't have any others? Okay. All right. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak in reference? Okay, sir. Mike, come on down. Perfect. Wabik.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Michael Shostak. I'm the township treasurer. I've been a township official for 7 years. We constantly tussle with Lansing on the idea of local control, where we in the township are in the best position to craft policy. I know that state law clearly provides what factors you at the DNR are allowed to use to make policy. Your initial report, presents the physical characteristics of this lake. Specifically, Wabeek Lake is 28 acres. I note for the record that the DNR has found other lakes in Oakland County that have met the threshold to be regulated as no gas motors. These are Green Lake in West Bloomfield Township, Sears Lake in Milford Township, and Square Lake in Orion Township. I further note for the record that each of these 3 lakes are larger in size than Wabeek Lake at its 28 acres. I would also like to add that our police and fire are not currently equipped and staffed to handle water-based patrols. We would likely rely on the county sheriff to provide that service if we had to, at likely a substantial cost to the community. Therefore, I'm here to support our township residents in their desire to keep the lakes quiet and safe. Thank you.
Real quick, I got Square Lake and Green Lake. The middle lake is the one that I missed.
Sears Lake.
Sears, okay.
Sears went bankrupt, but they have a lake named after them. And that's in Milford Township. And I have the dimensions of those as well if you need them, but I will send in a written comment as well, but I will include all that information. So thank you.
Yep. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on behalf, or not on behalf, but in reference to Wabeek Lake?
Anyone here from Wabeek Lake?
Okay. With that being said, I thank you for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest and that you took time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked by no later than December 15th, 2023. Following the close of the public comment period, we will review all pertinent information and submit our recommendation on the requested proposal at a later date to the township. This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you again and have a good night. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Tom Wanless, and I'm a lieutenant with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division. I will be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing regarding a resolution passed by the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County. At 7 o'clock p.m., and this hearing is now in session, and this is also being recorded. Excuse me. With me tonight, on my left, your right, is Sergeant Jason Becker, also from the DNR as well. He is the local area supervisor, or the area law supervisor is what we call them, area law supervisor for Oakland and Genesee County. So he's responsible for supervising the conservation officers in this area as well as the day-to-day operations of the law enforcement division. Are there any appointed or elected governmental officials here tonight? If so, please stand, state your name, your position or rank so that you can be recognized, please.
Danny Walsh, Township Supervisor.
Martin Brook, Township Clerk. Michael Shostak, Township Treasurer.
Elmer Township.
Anyone else?
State rep was here.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Thank you for your service, your public service. We appreciate that. A little background information. The DNR is responsible for the administration of Part 801, Marine Safety, Public Act 451, the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. The Act identifies the DNR as the only entity that can establish additional or local regulations on the waters of the state for recreational purposes. The Act also provides a process for local political subdivisions to request the DNR to investigate the need for a local regulation. By law, local regulations can only be considered to assure the compatibility of uses and to protect public safety when existing laws cannot adequately do so. Although near to the DNR's mission, environmental, habitat, erosion, wildlife, and other concerns cannot be considered. This is a quick, condensed version or summary of the process. So upon receiving an official resolution from the local political subdivision, the DNR shall initiate an investigation inquiry. Part of that process includes conducting a hearing to collect public comments. Upon the completion of the investigation and public hearing, the department will review the pertinent information and provide a recommendation to the local political subdivision. Depending on the request in the resolution from the township, whether it was something very specific or just something broad-based, hey, we need help on our lake, the recommendation may be what was submitted by the local unit of government. There could be no change, or the recommendation could be something else. The local political subdivision will then have 60 days to approve or disapprove any recommendation of change by the DNR. If approved by the township and a local ordinance is adopted, the language of the ordinance must be identical to the DNR's recommendation. Tonight's hearing is regarding the Charter Township of Bloomfield's request that the Department of Natural Resources consider establishing an electric motor only and slow no wake local watercraft control on several lakes, including Gilbert Lake. This meeting right now is for Gilbert Lake only. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested an opportunity to provide information that the DNR can use in determining a recommendation on the township's resolution. Please recognize the DNR can only use information if it relates to the compatibility of uses and public safety on the body of water when making our recommendation. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the township's request. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that the DNR is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether there is widespread support or opposition to any regulation or restriction. I believe that there was some misinformation being circulated when this process started regarding the current regulations, the township's request, and the process going forward. The township created certain ordinances attempting to control and regulate watercraft, including prohibiting certain motorized vessels on several lakes, Gilbert Lake being one. When establishing these ordinances, the township did not have the authority to create these watercraft ordinances, making them invalid and unenforceable. The township is now trying to establish local controls through the proper process and has requested the DNR to investigate the need for these controls as described in Part 801. Procedures for tonight. As you came in this evening, we were requesting everyone to sign in for Gilbert Lake, and then we do have another hearing after this one. If you're here for Gilbert Lake, please sign into the sign-in sheet back there. You're also given an opportunity to fill out a public comment sheet. Anyone wishing to comment must fill out a comment sheet and indicate whether you want to make your comment during the hearing or just provide a written statement on the form. Excuse me. We will use these sheets to maintain a record of those attending, any written comments, and to call upon those who would like to speak tonight. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these following steps. We will follow these steps. It's been a long night already, sorry. I will call on those who have indicated on the public comment sheet that they would like to speak in the general order in which we received the sheets. When the individuals who requested to speak have completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, face me, and make your statement. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me on your way to the microphone. As you begin your comments, please state your name and address very clearly and any group or association that you represent, if any. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have 30 seconds left. Please begin to wrap up your comments and end within the allotted time. If needed, we will indicate that your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Also recognize that we are here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed watercraft controls and to listen to those comments. The DNR is here to collect additional pertinent information regarding this proposal. This meeting is not an exchange between the individuals providing comments and us. However, I may ask a clarifying question. How this information is going to be used. This hearing is being recorded and your comments will be part of the information the DNR may consider in making its recommendation on the township's proposed regulation. There will be a public comment period for this public hearing that's open 30 days starting today. You may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked by no later than December 15th, 2023. Additional information and comments may be submitted to the address or the email on the sheet located in the back of the room where you signed in. Following the close of the 30-day public comment period, the DNR will provide a recommendation on the township's proposal and submit it to them. The DNR and township officials work together to schedule the public hearing for the 10 lakes which were identified in the resolutions for convenience and availability. There will be 5 hearings tonight, and each has been scheduled for a specific time to start. In the event we have not completed all of the public speaking requests 5 minutes prior to the start of the next public hearing, the hearing will be temporarily adjourned to start the next meeting on time. We will resume the original hearing later this evening when time permits. Everyone who wishes to speak will have the opportunity. With that, I have a statement from your sheriff that I would like to read for the record, if I can find it. It's right here. The sheriff wants the record to reflect that he supports Bloomfield Township's efforts to keep watercraft controls under local control. Watercraft control is best suited by the residents and the community. They should decide what they want and can make their choices appropriately. As the way the lakes are currently designated, there haven't been any issues. There is simply no need to change. By changing the designation from electric only to all sports, it will have an impact on the homeowners and why they specifically purchased their property. Furthermore, if the designation changes, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office will have to be on those lakes to handle boating-related complaints and incidences. Martin, you wish to make a statement? Okay, I'll let you do that then.
Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Martin Brook. I'm the Bloomfield Township Clerk, and I have a quick statement. The Township Board of Trustees, pursuant to a resolution adopted on October 23, 2023, asks the Department of Natural Resources to approve the proposed ordinances. The 10 lakes we're discussing, Gilbert Lake presently, are all under 65 acres, and most of them are half that size. As far as the township records reveal, since the 1950s, residents have wanted these lakes to be free from internal combustion motorboats. And as you'll hear, they still do. The fact that through a neighborhood agreement, or deed restrictions, or the 1970 ordinances, valid or invalid, these small lakes have been non-motorized for over 60 years and beyond. This points to approving the proposed ordinances because, as you know, historical use and lake size are 2 statutory factors the DNR considers when reviewing proposed local controls. The presence of conflicts, complaints, and accidents, as you've mentioned, and whether existing law adequately regulates the lakes are 4 other of the statutory factors. The lakes are presently safe and free of complaints, accidents, or conflicts, simply because of the long-standing and historical expectation and the township ordinances prohibiting motorboating. People want to keep it that way, safe and free of conflicts, complaints, and accidents. If the DNR does not approve any regulation, existing laws will not adequately protect the activities on the lakes. The present uses, swimming, paddleboarding, sailing, kayaking, fishing, would be disrupted by the introduction of motorboats or other high-speed boating. It is likely that conflicts would result. Accidents or complaints could follow because the existing state laws that regulate boating are inadequate. Another statutory factor is whether the water body is public or private. This also weighs in favor of the proposed ordinances. The 10 lakes under consideration are all private lakes, quote unquote, without the public access. DNR approval of the ordinances will not infringe on the right of the general public, nor will it infringe upon the owners who want these rules and or purchase their homes fully aware that they would live on a no motorboat lake. In summary, just because we've got this 3 minutes I'm trying to stay under, the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees requests that the DNR approve its proposed ordinances so that these lakes will remain no motorboat lakes and will also preclude high-powered electric motors and or operation of boats above slow no-wake speeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and just for the record, because there's a larger audience than there was the previous 3 meetings that we had today and some of the ones last week too. Just so that you know, you have several, as you saw at the beginning of this meeting, several township officials that were here today. They have been here all 5 meetings last week, and then so far all these meetings, and they have all stood up and made statements. And the reason why I'm asking them to do that is so that you can hear from your township, your elected officials and your appointed officials, that you can hear from them, you know, their position on it as well. It was very easy for him just to draft this up, very nicely crafted letter, and hand it to me, and we take that into consideration. But I felt it was just as important for you to hear from them as well too. So that's why I've asked them for each one of these hearings to make a quick statement. Same thing as well with a statement from the sheriff's office. There was a captain from the sheriff's office here last week, and he read the statement, made the statement, and I said that I would carry that forward for each individual one. So just letting you folks know that. So if you see a little bit of kind of I don't know, poking fun or, you know, smiles and stuff like that between some of us, it's because it's been a long 2 days for all of us here, and we've really started to bond on this stuff. So it's all good. Well, yeah. But anyway, okay, we're gonna start calling some names. We got a few of them here to get through, and like I said, if we can't get through by 5 minutes to 8, we will adjourn. And then pick this up at the completion of the 8 o'clock meeting, which is going to be for Wing Lake. We'll pick this up because I do want to give everybody an opportunity. If that does happen, and you don't want to stick around for after that, you can write your comments or submit your comments to us, at a later date as well too, if you didn't want to stick around, just to give that option to you. I'm going to apologize up front for 2 things. One, I will slaughter just about everybody's name, and I apologize up front for that. Secondly, if you see us not really paying attention to you, we're making notes or doing something else, please don't take offense to that. It's because we are making notes. I know that this is being recorded, but I also want to make some notes on things that I'm hearing you say. So just to let you know that. Okay? All right, first one. See, right out of the gate. Is it Nancy Coolish? Was I right? Is it Nancy? Exactly. Okay. Well, I know my penmanship is I could read yours. I couldn't read mine.
We've been living on Gilbert Lake for 34 years, and it was love at first sight of that lake. Its serenity and its beauty and what it offered us. We have lived had a place up north on a big lake that did have motorized boats, and that was fun. That's different from this lake and why we chose it. Over the years, we've used it, rowboat, canoe, lots of swimming. My grown daughter comes, and as a ritual, when she comes, she swims across the lake. Grandchildren swim, friends' grandchildren swim and fish. And I'm frightened if children who were swimming on this lake, and it's a small lake, there were motorized boats. I watched something just this summer that comes to mind. There were 2 kids, little kids, on one of those floaties, and it had floated away from wherever they lived or wherever they went into and closer to our side of the lake. And I got frightened, thinking, where are their parents? What will happen if something happens? And I ran down toward the shore to start to yell or do something. And another boat came along, a rowboat with the mother, came across that lake. and yelled at them and got them and then pulled them back. But I think that's the kind of thing that I think happens on our lake. But it's safe because it's slow and peaceful. And that's the kind of lake I want it to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. I'm losing my voice too. Craig Spangler.
Good evening. My name is Craig Spangler. I reside at 3953 Cottontail Lane, Bloomfield Hills. I'm a former president of the Gilbert Lake Estates Association. We have 41 homes that have an area that is actually accessed on the south side of Gilbert Lake. So my first concern was in the investigation under item D. It mentioned that there was only one private access site owned by Lone Pine Road Estates. We have a second access site that is part of Outlot A on our plat, and I wanted to make sure that was recognized.
Okay.
This is an area that is used for swimming, canoeing, kayaking. It's maintained by our association through association dues. I support what the township has done in terms of making this a lake that is accessible for all of our people that have homes in the area. One of my biggest concerns in addressing the safety issue is this is an area that is on the north side of Gilbert Lake Road, or north side of Corton between Gilbert Lake and Blandford. This is an issue where some people assume this is a township park. In other words, that it's meant as a public access point. It is not public access. We've had issues with trespassers. We've had issues with liability of things that have gone on in the lake. So again, going back 5 years is not long enough to really look at some of the issues that have occurred here. We were actually sued as part of an incident on the lake, and we were concerned that we would be unable to obtain liability insurance on the basis of what it took for us to get out of this lawsuit. So as a homeowner, I'm concerned that if we go to high-speed jet skis, motorboats, anything other than what we have right now of no-wake, low-power electric propulsion, we are going to be subject to more liability issues. And again, unfortunately, it will be due to something that happens that is unsafe. This lake is just not big enough to be able to support that type of thing without there being incidents. And again, we don't want to be involved in some type of issue where we are unable to even obtain liability insurance for our association. So I support maintaining what the township has put together here because it works for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, I'm not even gonna, yes, sir. You've been here most of the evening, so you've got the mic, sir.
Great, thank you. My name is Paul Kopsis. My wife and I live at 1025 Timberlake Drive on Gilbert Lake. We moved to Bloomfield Township about 15 years ago from Germany, where it's illegal to make noise on a Sunday. While I initially found this to be an outrageous limitation of personal freedoms, we grew to relish the serenity it afforded. When given the opportunity to move to Michigan with its many beautiful lakes, we considered many, but ultimately chose Gilbert Lake because it was, correctly or incorrectly, designated as a non-sports lake. That's what we invested in. And that's what we have enjoyed since moving here. Our children have grown up on this lake and constantly used the lake for swimming, paddleboarding, and we were comforted by the safety our lake provided. We now look forward to their children doing the same. We hosted a 60th wedding anniversary function on the outlot of Gilbert Lake a few summers ago for Don and Adele Beal, who were residents of Gilbert Lake in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. At that time, he thanked us for hosting the party as it brought back so many joyous, tranquil, and safe moments he had with him and his family. I mentioned to Don, now in his 90s, that what's being considered for Gilbert Lake, and he was astonished and so wanted to be here tonight to tell you what was being put at risk Unfortunately, his health today did not allow for him to be here, so I wanted to speak his mind. Our small lake could never withstand the proposed guidelines of 55 miles per hour and no wake within 100 feet of the shoreline. Our lake would never be the same if that was allowed. Come here tonight with 20 other opinions. They completed a survey where they unanimously indicated they wanted to keep Gilbert Lake as a non-sports lake. And I also come here with 2 letters from other residents who wanted me to express their opinions. I'll submit my written comments as well as the survey to you for the record.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Germany's very unique with several things over there, the way that they're, thank you very much, with their regulations. I know hunter education here in Michigan is 10 hours. Most states, it's anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. Over there, it's like a college course that you have to take. They're very unique over there. I do know that. Thank you. Tom Fogarty.
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Tom Fogarty. I reside at 980 Timberlake Drive with my wife, and we have access to Gilbert Lake through the outlot for Lone Pine Road Estates. And similar to Paul, I have experienced living in Germany and in Switzerland and the quiet that's there. My experience on Gilbert Lake is canoeing and kayaking and swimming, and all of that benefits from being a non-sports lake. I would advise you that I am a former member of the U.S. Power Squadron and operator of a motorized watercraft in the state of Rhode Island with access to the Atlantic Ocean. I like to go fast with my boat on that big water. This lake is not big enough to handle, it's big enough to handle 5 mile per hour speed limits. That would give plenty of opportunity to get out of the way if there was an object in front. I have had so many numerous misencounters or near misses in operating on the saltwater that I would fear that people who have not been well trained in high-speed operation would be a significant danger. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, is it Hefner? Hefner? Okay.
Gentlemen, my name is Peter Hefter. I live at 5100 Wayfind Lane. I want to talk about the fish. We all fish. We all love to fish. We all go kayaking. We all go canoeing. We catch largemouth bass. We catch pike. We catch bluegill. Seeing how quiet it is on that lake at any point in time, and knowing what a wake would do to the fish, or what a gas motor with oil in it does to fish life and the lily pads, it would be a sin not to leave this lake as it is. So I support the town, I support everybody here, and I support the fish.
Thank you. Lindsay, I'm gonna guess you guys live at the same house, so you're probably related.
Conversations are animated. Yes, hi, I'm Lindsay. Well, first of all, I have a broad question. DNR, Department of Natural Resources. Natural being an operative word. So I've been very confused by this ask, and I would appeal to natural resources. So, a short story. Long ago, I was dating a boy who lived on Orchard Lake, and it was a motorized lake. And he was out one morning early water skiing, and there was a priest swimming, and he hit him, and the priest died. And it scarred my boyfriend of the time, and of course killed the priest. And that's Orchard Lake, and a much larger lake. I can't imagine motors on this lake, on Gilbert Lake. It makes no sense at all. It's a teeny lake. So I would ask you not to do that. I just think that it's insane. And lived it. So I hope that the sort of sanity prevails and we look at this with a clear eye. Also, why would you ever throw gasoline and oil into something that we fought so hard to revive and protect? It doesn't make sense. So that is my comment.
Thank you. Next up, James Parker.
Hi, good evening. Jim Parker. I live at 5611 Shadow Lane on the west side of Gilbert Lake. I'm also the riparian representative for the Lake Board. When we meet in this room, I sometimes get to sit up there where you are. I've lived at Gilbert Lake for the past 16 years, and my involvement with Gilbert Lake goes well beyond my responsibilities as the riparian rep. As a riparian rep, I want to start out as saying that I've spoken with many of the residents, the riparians, the access members, also gotten feedback through emails, letters, texts. I have only heard the unanimous, overwhelming response from the riparians is that they'd like to see the lake maintained as electric only with speed and weight restrictions. I'd also add that as the riparians, we've recently invested in fixing and providing safety upgrades to the weir and break wall at the south end of the lake, which regulates the really the water level of the lake, maintains it as a lake. Those repairs were expensive, but they were necessary because the infrastructure there is old, frankly, fragile and deteriorating. I fear, and I think the others fear, that the investment that we put into that could be damaged and require further investment if powerboats with wakes are allowed onto the lake. It just can't handle it. That is some perspectives on behalf of being the riparian rep. But my involvement with the lake is really much more personal than that. We moved to the lake. I know when we moved to the lake because my wife was pregnant at the time. I had one daughter at the time, and she was pregnant with twins. I now have 3 daughters, and she was pregnant, and we needed a bigger house. And we looked at different places. And we thought maybe we'd be lucky to live enough on the lake. We considered other lakes. We considered all sports lakes. But when we saw Gilbert Lake, we walked through the door of that house and said, we're finding a way, but we're going to buy this house because we knew that we wanted to raise our kids on that lake. And we did that. My kids were born when they were infants, toddlers. We were able to anchor a swim raft out in front of our dock, and they would swim every day, take them down there, back and forth to that raft. And they learned how to swim on Gilbert Lake. We would never have considered allowing them to do that if there were powerboats. Now they swim across the lake because they're bigger and they know they're bigger swimmers. They use it now to swim across the lake. Again, safety concerns would be horrible. Thank you.
Go ahead, if you want to wrap up real quick, just to have a closing statement, that's...
My closing statement is that the safety concerns for Gilbert Lake, the uses that we, my family, the others that I see, would not be allowable with speedboats. The safety fears would be far too great, and the small size, 59 acres of that lake, just simply won't allow high-speed boats, wakes, and I support the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. That scared me. Danny Walsh. She is up. Well, no. No, it's too late. It's too late. You had your chance. You guys heard me say her name. Oh, now I just lost that piece of paper. Oh, there it is.
You're not sick of me yet. Well, you might be, but you'd be too nice to say so. All right, so I'll switch it up a little bit. Because each time they have listened to us every time. You know that obviously safety is important. My friend did lose 2 children on Sylvan Lake. As a I live on Wing Lake Road, but I don't have the blessing of being a lake user. So as somebody who only knows public lakes, being able to experience Forest Lake last summer to see what they have, the peace, tranquility, but also, as you've mentioned, children being able to actually leave the side of the lake is amazing, and it's safe. The other thing that was interesting was we had State Senator Moss, State Representative Donnie Steele, and State Representative Samantha Steckloff all here in support of us. But Donnie Steele mentioned she lives on Square Lake in Lake Orion, which is, you were nice enough to grant the ability to not be an all-sports lake. And this scared her because she thought, why is this happening? We had no problem asking for this. So even other lakes that have the ordinance are thinking, wow, why were we so lucky? So I'm asking for the safety, for the usage of what my fellow residents have looked for. And I know I used to be able to say 100%. We had one guy who, everybody has to read my averages. So we had one person of all of these groups come up and say he moved here within the last year. But he did move in knowing what he was getting. And so I'm taking the other voices as more important. And as for the realtor, I really, no offense, but I really don't care if it's easier for her to sell a house. If it's all sports, she's not my resident. So I ask you, please, for safety of not just the children, but the adults. One of the lieutenant might remember the adult from last week who spoke about he was scared to swim on any other lake than the one he lived on because it was too dangerous. So he lived on a lake where he could learn to swim. When he tried to swim on another public lake, he almost drowned because a boat kicked up so much water and he got nervous. This is literally the only way some people can swim. So for the uses that we can't do on all sports lakes, as well as the safety, I again beg that you please allow this ordinance to stand or to be introduced for real this time. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I apologize. Rogana, Cherry? Was I close? Was I close?
You were very close.
Okay.
My writing's not good. I'm Rowena Cherry. I live at 5362 Woodlands Estates Drive South on Gilbert Lake Subdivision Association. I'm speaking on behalf of 8 of our residents who all want the lake to stay the way it is. No noise, no power boats. We'd like it to stay the way it is. And we swim, we fish, we enjoy the bird life. I know you can't consider the birds, but there are myriad birds of all sizes. And the noise and the pollution that has been mentioned of motorboats would be horrible. So that's my opinion and of the residents I represent on Woodlands Estates. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Like I said, I really like it when people write their comments down before they speak because then I can just circle, highlight, square, check. and my hand doesn't get as sore. 736. Okay. And then also, for the record, these are the people that you represent, so I'm just letting people know that there was an attachment to your comment. Thank you. Mark Diamond.
Hello, I'm Mark Diamond. I live at 3856 Corton. I live on the lake. We've lived there for about 10 years. Prior to that, I lived about a quarter mile down the road on Corton itself, still always admiring the lake, but wanting to be on the lake itself. So the allure of the lake clearly has something to do with its peace and tranquility and safety. Because I had a young child, and I also have nieces and nephews who come and want to swim and go out on the surfboards and the kayaks, etc. I think it would be highly improbable that you guys could manage a lake with motorboats on. I mean, they probably have 200 yards to deal with, because if you've taken into account the islands and the peninsulas, and there's no room for motorized vehicles, and if they were, they would be coming too close. They would surely break those restrictions and come too close to the shore and possibly cause injury or damage. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam Gray's next.
Hi, I'm Sam Gray. I live at 5771 Snowshoe Circle with my wife Lori. We've lived there for 2 years. And I thought this was a neighborhood mixer. I haven't met any of you before, so that's why I'm out here tonight. I have nothing formally prepared.
It's a small lake.
It's a small lake, yeah. When's the last time the 57 of us got to hang out together? So happy to be here, and I enjoyed everybody's comments so far. They all hit on subjects that I was going to touch on, from serenity to the environment, safety, noise. I'm sure all of us during the Dream Cruise heard motors revving on Telegraph and on Woodward, long ways away. We have gotten notifications from our association not to mow the lawn on certain days or use blowers on certain days. Again, back to noise, serenity, peace, peacefulness. That's why my wife and I moved to Snowshoe Circle, to have access to that lake, to kayak with the kids, to go fishing with my brother-in-law. When I look around the room, I see people. It's almost like when you go to a Bob Seger concert. This is our crowd, right? These are our people. And we're all hardworking people that have reached this level where we want what we worked hard to get. And in this case, it's serenity and peace and quiet and a nice view. Life is a balancing act, good and bad, right and wrong, up and down, birth and death, not to get too heavy and too philosophical, but there's enough lakes where you could have a power boat. There should be the balancing act of having a lake that's non-power. Thank you.
Okay. Is it Earl, Beth? I don't know if this is a bunch of people's names. I see a Larry and a Melissa.
There you go.
There's a whole slew of people.
Thank you.
Are you all coming up, or just?
I'm going to be the designated.
You're the designated representative for all
unless
these
they
folks.
decide to say something.
That works for me. Thank you.
So I've got a half hour, right?
No.
Yeah. So I'm Earl Ehrman. My wife Beth is here. The Laxes, our good friends, are here as well. The four of us live in the Lone Pine Road Estates subdivision. We have access to the lake lot, the outlot. We've lived in the subdivision for 43 years. The Laxes 27. I wrote a letter to Jill Miller, Corporal Jill Miller, and Lieutenant Thomas R. Winless, who I think the DNR report suggested that we write to.
Yeah,
so,
and that's me.
And you got the letter, so
yes.
So we're here. I'm going to read the letter into the record because I think it expresses our sentiments much easier than if I ramble on here. But and my address is 5400 Deepwood, and the Laxes are at 5141 Wynn Lane. And we support the proposed township ordinance. So my wife and I and the Laxes are longtime residents of Bloomfield Township and have enjoyed access to Gilbert Lake through the Homeowners Association access site, which we refer to as the Lake Lot. It is my understanding that the DNR believes that Gilbert Lake is currently operating without a valid ordinance limiting its use of the lake to electric-powered watercraft. The township now seeks to remedy this situation by seeking the DNR's approval of a new ordinance that will limit watercraft on the lake to those powered by an electric motor of no greater than 12 volts, producing less than 100 pounds of thrust, and operated at no wake speeds and or under 10 miles per hour. Absent enactment of this ordinance, the lake would be deemed an all-sports lake, which would allow the use of gas-powered motor boats of up to 55 miles per hour. And I may not have stated those facts correctly, but I think they're pretty close. The purpose of this email is, and this letter, is to express our full support for the township's proposed ordinances. The reasons are many and are obvious. The purpose of this, the majority of the lake is only 5 to 10 feet deep and not very big in surface area. Motorboats would pose a huge safety and property damage threat if they are allowed on the lake. The natural features of the lake render it unsafe for motorboats considering its depth, sandbars, and muck deposits. We are regular users of the lake for fishing and canoeing, where we gain access via the lake lot. Motorboats will clearly disrupt this tranquility, and their use will conflict with the current use. Gilbert Lake has historically been a non-motorboat lake, and homeowners have relied on this for decades. It is not clear from the investigative report prepared by the DNR whether they will approve the proposed ordinance. We can think of no good reason why our state's protector of our natural resources would allow Gilbert Lake to become an all-sports lake. We support the township and request that the DNR approve the proposed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna try this one. I'm not sure here. Is it Andreas Kulpa? Was I like off by like a mile? Yeah. And again, I apologize.
I take no offense. Andrew Kulpa. I live at
Andrew. Okay.
5110 Tootmore. We purchased our home about 14 years ago, where I live with my wife and my kids. Gilbert Lake is a small lake, and I'm going to probably reiterate a lot of what is said here, but anecdotally from another voice in the community, we spend an extensive amount of time out on the lake, both myself, my wife, our kids, their friends, and it's all for non-motorsport activity. We feel safe that they can be out there kayaking, paddleboarding, and swimming, in contrast to the lakes up north that we go on to, where if they do want to be out there on their own, if they do want to be out there swimming and doing somewhat unsupervised, they're doing so with a level of peril, and it has to be done early in the morning before anybody's out there and running the motorboats. We came to Gilbert Lake specifically because it was safe for the families to be out there. Anecdotally, we see a lot of families and kids out there when we're out there. And again, the safety is reiterated by the fact that there aren't boats there potentially causing injury. So in summary, due to the health and safety for the young users and families alike on the lake, as well as based on its small size, it's unnecessary and unsafe to change this to an all-sport lake. And we support the township's continued governance of the lake as a non-all-sport lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a few more. We'll try to get through them. It's gonna be close here. Mark, I don't know if it's Bass. Looks like B-A-K, B-A-L, Balsts. Is there a Mark in here?
There's a Mark, but I'm on Wind Lake, so I think you might have the...
You're on Wind Lake Road?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna set you aside. Look at that. Look how fast we did that one, folks. We'll hit you.
For the record, I agree with everything.
Is it Pete Barton? Barton? Okay.
Peter Burton, 5620 Lane Lake Road, Bloomfield Hills. I'll save you the trouble of taking notes because I'll give them to you when I'm done. As well as from 4 other folks in our subdivision. I am one of 7 residents in our subdivision known as Peabody Farms. And I apologize because I'm sure you've heard everything I've had to say, not only in this room, but in several rooms leading up to this. My wife and I have lived in our home, built our home at our address 23 years ago. And we are in favor of the current ordinances with the addition of the limitation on high-powered electric boats that the township is also suggesting. We specifically purchased our home at this location because of the restrictions, as we didn't wish to live on a lake that had Watercraft. The lake is small, you've heard that already, but it's way smaller than it even appears on the surface because of the configuration with the islands and the isthmus, as I call it, and the shallow depth, as well as very large areas of weeds. As a matter of fact, I was one of the fellows that was part of the committee that actually formed the lake board and that you folks sit on to this day. And we have a survey of the lake, and it's probably less than 30 acres or 25 acres of actual usable area because of the depth. We share everyone's feeling about the safety issues. While on a bigger lake, you can have a boat out a mile and a half doing whatever the heck they want, and you don't hear them, you don't see them, they don't affect the shoreline where for the first several hundred feet people can swim in safety. So with that, I just mimic and double everyone else's opinion about the safety factor and the fact that everyone in this room bought the lake under the understanding that it was going to be a quiet environment without the use of power watercraft. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a couple more township officials that would like to speak. Michael, come on up.
Are there any residents left?
Nope, just you and Valerie.
Okay, great. Michael Shostak, Township Hall. I am the Bloomfield Township Treasurer. Good evening, Lieutenant and Sergeant, and of course my fellow residents. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for coming to Bloomfield Township, the community we live in, and the community that we love. I've been a township official for 7 years now, and we are constantly tussling with Lansing on the idea of local control where we at the township are in the best position to craft policy. I know that state law clearly provides what factors you and the DNR are allowed to use to make lake and watercraft policy, however much we in local government disagree. Your preliminary report presents the physical characteristics of this lake. Specifically, Gilbert Lake is 59 acres. I note for the record that the DNR has found that other lakes in Oakland County meet the threshold to be regulated as no gas motors. These are Green Lake in West Bloomfield Township, Sears Lake in Milford Township, Square Lake in Orion Township. I further note for the record that each of these 3 lakes are larger than Gilbert Lake. I would also like to add that our amazing first-class police and fire are not currently equipped and staffed to handle water-based patrols. We would therefore likely rely on the county sheriff to provide that service at a substantial cost to the community. Therefore, I'm here tonight to proudly support my township residents in their desire to keep their lakes quiet and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie. Yep, you're up.
Good evening. Last one.
Got one more. You got to stay here for the whole one.
No. Last one for this meeting.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's why I said put me at the back. I wanted the residents to speak first because you live on this lake, you bought for this lake, and clearly every one of you that spoke tonight loves what you have. And that's why I support the township ordinance and I support our resolution to do this finally legitimately on the books There's been no accidents or injuries or incidents on these lakes because they do not have gas powered or fast engines. I have access to Walnut Lake, which is 230 acres, almost 4 times the size of Gilbert Lake. And I can tell you that it is marginally large enough to be an all sports lake. I've been on there for almost 40 years and we've seen things. We avoid the busy times. I would tell my kids we just don't go out until all the fast boating goes in for dinner, and then we catch the last hour before no wake. You have to play it safe with kids, and swimming the lake is incredibly dangerous unless you do it during the no wake hours. So I support what the residents want. I support for safety. As you know, I've been here for 9 meetings, and I support local control because I think, one size fits all of an all sports lake for everybody in the county or in the state, that just doesn't work. And so that's why the local elected officials are charged with setting up policy that is safe for their own residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very quickly, we've got about 2 minutes. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on Gilbert Lake that has not filled out a form? Okay, with that being said, I want to thank you for your comments and your cooperation tonight. And those that are going to be here for the next meeting will hear this again sometime tonight. We appreciate your interest and that you took time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Following the close of the public comment period, the DNR will review all pertinent information and submit our recommendation on the requested proposal at a later date. Before I close this hearing real quick, I can put it either on or off the record, but just to let you know, if you have Corporal Jill Miller's email address, please do not waste any time emailing her. There's an email address back there. We'd rather you email. I know some of you have my email address as well. Use those. She is predisposed and she will not be seeing your email, reviewing your email, responding to your email, or anything else for several weeks. So just to save you the hassle and any frustration, it's like, well, why didn't I? Just don't even bother trying to get hold of Corporal Miller. Also, there are some snacks that are left in the back there. I want you to know that's compliments of your township officials for you to have if you need it between our 5-minute intermission that we're going to have here. And with that, the hearing on Gilbert Lake is now closed. Thank you again and have a great night for those of you. Drive safe. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Wanless. I'm a lieutenant with the Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division. I will be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing regarding the resolution passed by the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County. It's 8:01, we're a little bit late, and this hearing is now in session and it is being recorded. With me tonight from the DNR is Sergeant Jason Becker. Jason is the area law supervisor for Oakland and Genesee County, so he oversees the day-to-day operations of the law enforcement division and the conservation officers assigned to these counties. Are there any appointed or elected governmental officials here tonight with us? If so, please stand, state your name, your position or rank, and so that you can be recognized.
Hi, I'm Martin Brook, Bloomfield Township Clerk. Michael Shostak, Bloomfield Township Treasurer.
Val Murray, Bloomfield Township Trustee.
And the individual in the back who's not paying attention.
Oh, sorry. I was the back hip in the back of the class. I'm Danny Walsh, Township Supervisor.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for your public service as well. And just so that you folks know, this is the 10th of 10 of these public hearings, so the township officials and us have really kind of, you may see us making some jokes and comments at one another because I have requested that they provide comments as well too in all of the meetings, not just one, so that you guys can hear what your appointed and elected officials have to say as well too in your support. So that's why I've asked them to do that. Okay. Any other elected or appointed officials from any other governmental level? Okay. A little background information. The DNR is responsible for the administration of Part 801, Marine Safety, of Part 4 of Public Act 451, the Natural Resources and Environmental Act. The Act identifies the Department of Natural Resources as the only entity that can establish additional or local regulations on the waters of this state for recreational purposes. The Act also provides a process for the local political subdivisions to request the DNR to investigate the need for local regulations. By law, local regulations can only be considered to assure the compatibility of uses and to protect public safety when existing laws cannot adequately do so. Although near to the DNR's mission, environmental, habitat, erosion, wildlife, and other concerns cannot be considered. Here's a condensed summary of the process. Upon receiving an official resolution from a local political subdivision, the DNR shall initiate an investigation and inquiry. Part of the process includes conducting a hearing to collect public comment. Upon the completion of the investigation and public hearing, the department will review the pertinent information and provide a recommendation to the local political subdivision. Depending on the request in the resolution, meaning if it's something very specific or detailed, or if it's broad-based, hey, we need help. The recommendation may be what was submitted by the local unit of government. The recommendation may be nothing at all, no change, or it may be something else. The local political subdivision will then have 60 days to approve or disapprove any recommendation of change by the DNR. If approved and a local ordinance is adopted by the township, the language of the ordinance must be identical to the DNR's recommendation. Tonight's hearing is regarding, the Charter Township of Bloomfield's request that the Department of Natural Resources consider establishing an electric motor only and slow no wake local watercraft control on several lakes, including Wing Lake. This hearing is specifically to Wing Lake. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested the opportunity to provide information that the DNR can use in determining a recommendation on the township's resolution. Please recognize the DNR can only use information if it relates to the compatibility of uses and public safety on the water body when making our recommendation. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the township's request. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that the DNR is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether there is widespread support or opposition to any regulations or restrictions or recommendations. I believe that there was some misinformation being circulated when this process started regarding the current regulations in the township's request to the DNR, and the process going forward. The township created certain ordinances attempting to control and regulate watercraft, including prohibiting certain motorized vessels on several lakes, Wing Lake being one of them. When establishing these ordinances, the township did not have the authority to create these watercraft ordinances, making them invalid and unenforceable. The township is now trying to establish local controls through the proper process and has requested the DNR to investigate the need for these local controls as described in Part 801. So for the procedures for tonight, so as you came in this evening, we request that you sign in. I know that we ran out of, there was a sign-in sheet, we ran out. There's another one back there. So at some time, if you have not signed in, please sign in on that sign-in sheet. You don't need to all run up there right now. I'm okay with that. You were also given an opportunity to fill out a public comment sheet. Anyone wishing to comment must fill out a comment sheet and indicate if you wish to make a comment during the hearing or just provide a written comment on the form. We will use these sheets to maintain a record of those attending, any written comments, and to call upon those who would like to speak tonight. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. I will call on those who have indicated on the public comment sheet that they would like to speak in the general order in which we received them. When the individuals who requested to speak have completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, face me, and make your statement. If you have written comments or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me as you come to the microphone. If you need them for your notes for your presentation, you can give them to me afterward. As you begin your comments, please state your name and address very clearly and any group or association that you may represent. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have about 30 seconds left. Please begin to wrap up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate that your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful of one another. Only one person should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Also recognize that we are here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed watercraft controls and to listen to those comments. The DNR is here to collect additional pertinent information regarding the proposal. This meeting is not an exchange between the individuals providing comments and us. However, I may ask a clarifying question. How is this information going to be used? This hearing is being recorded and your comments will be part of the information the DNR may consider in making its recommendation on the township's proposed resolution. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 30 days after today. You may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023. Mailed comments must be postmarked no later than December 15th, 2023. Additional information and comments may be submitted to the address or the email that is on the sheet located in the back of the room. There's a mailing address as well as a mailbox, email box, I'm sorry. Following the close of the 30-day public comment period, the DNR will provide a recommendation on the township's proposal and submit it to them. The DNR and township officials work together to schedule the public hearings for 10 of these. This is the last one. So to save time, this goes about if we don't get through all of them, that will adjourn. There's no more public meetings after this one. So everyone who wishes to speak will have an opportunity to speak tonight. We will not adjourn tonight and go into tomorrow. That's not the game plan at all. With that being said, I do have a representative from the sheriff's office came in and on Thursday, the first meeting on Thursday, and read a statement from the sheriff. And I had offered so that they didn't have to keep coming back and stay here like I've made the township officials. I will read this statement from the sheriff just so that you can hear it from the sheriff. So the sheriff wants the record to reflect that he supports Bloomfield Township's efforts to keep watercraft controls under local control. Watercraft control is best suited by the residents and the community. They should decide what they want and can make their choices appropriately. As the way the lakes are currently designated, there haven't been any issues. There is simply no need to change. By changing the designation from electric only to all sports, it will have an impact on the homeowners and why they specifically purchased their property. Furthermore, if the designation changes, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office will have to be on those lakes to handle boating-related complaints and incidences. So that came from your sheriff, and that will be the last time I have to read that. All right. With that being said, just because he's read this 5 or 10 times now or 9 times now, Martin, I will ask that you start it out. I don't know if you fill out a form or not. I know that I've got your document.
I've gone rogue.
Okay. All right. Oh, you're going to be a rebel like Valerie is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Martin Brook. I'm the Bloomfield Township Clerk. And here is the comment that I have here on behalf of the Township Board of Trustees. The Township Board of Trustees, pursuant to a resolution adopted on October 23rd, asks the DNR to approve the proposed ordinances. Some of the reasoning I'll mention here, and then the rest of it is in written comment. The 10 lakes we were discussing during today's and the prior public hearings are presently no motorboat lakes. 8 of these lakes are 65 acres. Most of them are half that size or smaller. Wing Lake is one of the larger lakes at 110 acres, still a relatively small lake. And by the way, it has many shallow areas, making it effectively much smaller than the 110 acres. As far as township records reveal, since the 1950s, residents have wanted these lakes, including Wing Lake, to be free from internal combustion motorboats. As you'll hear, they still do. The fact is that through a neighborhood agreement, deed restrictions, or the 1970 ordinances, valid or invalid, these small lakes have been non-motorboat lakes for well over 60 years. This points to approving the ordinances because, as you know, historical use and lake size are two statutory factors the DNR considers when reviewing proposed local controls. The presence of conflicts, complaints, accidents, and whether existing law adequately regulates the lakes are 4 other statutory factors. The lakes are safe and free of complaints, accidents, or conflicts because of the long-standing and historical expectation and the township ordinance prohibiting motorboating. People want to keep it that way, safe, free of conflicts and complaints and accidents. If the DNR does not approve any regulation, the existing law will not adequately regulate activities on the lake. Present uses are swimming, paddle boats, stand-up paddlers, sailors, kayakers, fishermen, fishing people. You'll hear that all tonight. That may be disrupted by the introduction of motorboats or other high-speed boating. It is likely that conflicts, complaints, and accidents would happen because existing state laws that regulate boating would be inadequate. Another statutory factor is whether the water body is public or private. This also weighs in favor of the proposed ordinances. The 10 lakes under consideration are all private lakes. In other words, they don't have any public access. The DNR approval of the ordinances will not infringe on the right of the general public, nor will it infringe upon the owners who want these rules and or purchase their home fully aware that they would live on a no motorboat lake. In quick summary, and to get on to the real point of the hearing tonight, I want to mention that the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees requests that the DNR approve its proposed ordinances so that Wing Lake would remain a no motorboat lake and would also preclude high-powered electric motors and or operation above slow no-wake speeds. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been great talking with you. This is now the 10th time signing off.
Yes. And 10 times, and every time he's changed something in there. Just so he gives me a document and then he changed it on me. I'm reading along. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing that in there, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, now we're going to start with these. And a couple of things. Again, if I, for those that were not here earlier, if I slaughter your name, I totally apologize in advance. That's number one. I don't know if I mentioned this when everyone is in here, but if you have Jill Miller, Corporal Jill Miller's email, don't send her anything. And then there's still snacks back there. If they are not eaten up, they are compliments of the township, not the DNR. If they are not eaten up, then they're going to be stuck here, and then the township officials are going to have to take them home themselves. So, enjoy enjoy it if you can. So, with that, okay, Mark, you actually jumped the gun earlier. So we're going to give you the mic now. How about that?
That sounds great. My last name starts with B, so that happens all the time. Good evening. My name is Mark Baxt. I'm at 5600 Wing Lake Road in Bloomfield Township, and I moved to this lake in this area 7 years ago, in part because of the reason that I thought that the lake was safe, because it had a policy of no motorboats on it. I have friends who live on, for example, Massaday Lake, which is an all-sports lake, a very large lake, and a remarkably different living experience, one that people can choose to do and choose to accept if they want to live on that kind of lake. I chose not to. I think my neighbors here, for the most part, we'll find out, likely did the same for safety reasons, which is one of the reasons that was identified for not changing the statute from what it currently is, right or wrong. So I'd just like to point out that the reality is that for historic reasons, perhaps unknown to all of us, all of these 10 lakes have been non-motorsports lakes, have been electric only. I've read the ordinance that was put together by the clerk. I think it's well written, well crafted, and narrowly crafted to accomplish the purpose of maintaining that safety. Should the DNR choose not to approve the township doing what the people want, then that would be a change from what currently exists, and that would be a change from safety to lack of safety, which would be inconsistent with what I've heard tonight to be the point of having this presentation and to having you here in our community. So I'd ask you to seriously consider approving that which the township has asked.
Thank you. That's fine. Okay. All right, Township Treasurer Michael, is Michael in the room? Oh, we're throwing his out too. We'll throw his out too. Again? Yeah. Is it, and again, if I select Cheryl Hendricks, is that right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Richard, is it Broder? Broder is going to be on deck.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, I'm Cheryl Heinrichs. I live down on Worlington Road. We moved here because our realtor took us to the lake at sunset as we watched the swans swimming by. That made a huge impact on us. Granted, we liked our house, but the lake was a big asset. Wing Lake is a community of neighbors and friends who use the lake as a gathering place, above and beyond a wonderful place for ourselves and our kids and our grandkids to swim. We host gatherings throughout the year with the purpose of getting to know one another and enjoying our time together. My closest friendships began at the lake 40 years ago when we moved in, and my children got to know the other children in the neighborhood because of those gatherings and that quiet time in the evening. We need a lake that is noise-free so that we can talk to one another and be heard, something that's a little unusual in this day and age, but we think it's important. We do not need to be continually worried that our children and our grandchildren will be in danger of being hit by a motorboat. Our lake is not big enough. If you just ride a boat down the center of the lake, you won't hit a sandbar or some weeds, but that's about the only area there is, and this is a grave concern. This area is important. It's important to us. And I'm wondering how they're going to figure out how many motorboats can go on that lake and how we're going to keep the ones that when it gets up to 25 or 30 or 35, how we're going to keep them monitored. This is a real concern for me. As you can tell, I'm a senior, and I look down the road to when I need to sell my house, and I want my lake to be something that's an asset for my community. Obviously, we've talked about safety, both for swimmers and boaters. It's important that there is not room for motorboats to safely move around this lake. The other thing, lastly, we work diligently to keep our lake pollution-free, weed-controlled, and we follow all of the laws. We pay a significant amount of dues every year because we believe in our lake that it's important to keep it beautiful and safe for swimming, for our kayakers, our canoers, our paddleboarders, and for the young adults who swim across our lake in order to work hard at their swimming skills. So please keep our lake safe and follow the township's guidance on this. Thank you.
Thank you. You ready? Okay.
Good evening, Richard Broder, 4309 Geisler Court. We live on the lake, and we moved to Wing Lake specifically for the peacefulness and the views and the quiet and the ability to kayak, paddleboard, and tool around a little bit on our pontoon boat very slowly with no wake. So the thing that I wanted to speak in support of the township's proposal to keep the lake exactly the way it is, and just from a logical point of view, even if you draw a perimeter of 100 feet from the shore all the way around the lake, it really limits the ability for sort of all sports activities. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you could have anything viable in terms of high-speed motoring around the lake. I just think it would not work, and the wakes wouldn't work, and it would be a great detriment to those who are trying to just enjoy the peaceful calm of Wing Lake. So again, I speak in support of what the township is trying to propose, and I hope you'll give it every due consideration. Thank you.
Okay, sir, just real quick for clarification. You said that you supported to leave the lake as is, but then you said you support the township's resolution. So those are two different things.
I apologize. I proposed the township's resolution.
Okay, I wanted to hear it from you on
Thank
the
you.
record. I didn't want to assume. I figured that's what it was. Thank
got
you.
it.
Okay. Jim Cleland, if I said that right.
You did.
And then Jeffrey Jones will be on deck. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Jim Clellan. I live at 5885 Wing Lake Road. I'd like to, Lieutenant Wanless and Sergeant Becker would like to thank you for holding this hearing. And I also want to thank Martin Brook if he's in the room. He's been a real helper in walking through this process and helping to educate us. I'm going to cover three things. First, I'm a member of the Wing Lake Board, which is a lake-wide board, and also a member of one of the beach associations. We have 12 people on the board, and it represents 9 beach associations plus independent riparians. I'm not going to get into the weeds on all that we do, but clearly one of our primary objectives is to look out for the health of the lake. So we survey the lake, and from the survey for water, vegetation, wildlife habitat, we treat the lake a couple of times every season, and our members pay dues for the cost of that. We always have some one-off issues. This is one of those one-off issues. And my friend Mick Sherba and I have been working the last few weeks to communicate with all of our members, and it's just fantastic to see everybody here. When we discussed this issue as a board with Martin, initially when we were working through some of the mechanics, and then eventually towards a draft document, the vote by the board was unanimous in favor of the draft ordinance. I just want to share a couple of data points. Some of them have been raised, some of them you've had in your summaries, but the lake is 110 acres. The deepest point in the lake is 36 feet. And if you look at the lake's footprint from above, 45% of the surface area of the lake is 5 feet in depth or less. And so we've got that whole perimeter on the lake, which is pretty significant percentage, which is pretty shallow. Wing Lake is a private lake. We have 352 households that have access to the lake. Most are members of 9 beach associations, plus some independent riparians. So there's a sizable number of people that have access to the lake. On behalf of the Wing Lake Board, and then you'll also hear from some of our beach associations and neighbors, we're here to ask the DNR to recommend approval of our draft enforceable ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Jones. I live at 4383 Oak Grove Drive, which is on the north side of the lake, a riparian and also member of the Broughton Park subdivision. We moved to this location because of the lake. Most importantly, I'm a father to 4 young daughters, and they all learned to swim on the lake. And there's not a day that doesn't go by that they don't spend time on that lake, including in April when it's quite cold and they're out there swimming. We're very fortunate to have a shallow lake. We're very fortunate to have a small lake. I support the township's proposed ordinance as well as local control, primarily for safety reasons. On behalf of a father and so many parents that have young children that are on the lake, we want it to remain safe. The concern is that the lake does not have the footprint to support motorboats nor high speeds. it would put our swimming at jeopardy. In addition, I personally swim the lake every day in the summertime on all directions. And in the longest point of the lake, I can swim it in 40 minutes back and forth. And I'm not a fast swimmer. So it's not a very large lake. Motorboats would jeopardize the safety of those activities, as well as all the other activities that we have: paddleboarding, canoeing, safe fishing, and more importantly, just really enjoying the environmental and local area of the lake. We wanted to remain a safe place, and we appreciate your time to hear us today. Appreciate your consideration of the township's proposed ordinance and local control. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Paulson. And then Mick Sherbaugh will be on deck, if I said that right.
Hi, my name's Andy Paulson, 5681 Westwood Court. I'm here on behalf of Westwood Manor Property Owners Association, and I'm also a member of the Wing Lake Inc. board that was mentioned previously. Westwood Manor Property Owners is a collection of 39 houses, or 39 homes. We're on the northeast corner of the lake. I'm a transplant, honestly, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of the letter that I emailed in, but my wife's family has seen almost, I think someone mentioned nearly 60 years of non-motorized sports on the lake. My wife's family have seen nearly all of that 60 years. So it comes with a lot of history on the lake. The one thing that I think I heard, both the safety is primary, environmental is a very big concern as well with putting motorboats on the lake. Martin alluded to it briefly with the electric motors. I think one of the key things that needs to be said about keeping high-speed craft off the lake is the transition that we're going through right now in society in general with push for electric motors. There are electric surfboards that are available on the marketplace that will go 35 miles an hour. There's electric outboards that are capable of 80 horsepower internal combustion equivalency, and those are available commercially for people to buy and put on any boat they want to. So I think the electric motor history of Wing Lake Inc. or of Wing Lake has served it very well. It's kept the lake very clean, very peaceful, very quiet, very safe. My son swam the lake regularly when he was in high school, so it was nice to be able to let him go out there and know with his friends that they can go across the lake and back without worrying about getting hit. I think it's time that we get in front of technology that's coming up in this case. The electric motors are going to places that none of us can probably envision at this point in time. If we get in front of them by limiting the speeds and limiting to no wake, I think we stay in front of that technology as a community. So as the Westwood Manor property owners, we want to ask that you consider the township's proposal and the draft ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Mick, if I'm saying it right, is it Sherbaugh?
Sherbaugh, yes.
Sherbaugh? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Mick Sherbaugh, and I live at 4398 Oak Grove Drive. And I'm a Wing Lake Inc. Lake Association board member, and I'm also representing our Broughton Park subdivision, who are, all the homeowners have rights to the lake. I have 2 points to make. First one is more of a historical, the second one is more of a safety. And in my 70 years on the lake, to my knowledge, there's never been a drowning. There's never been a safety swimming accident. There's never been a severe boating accident. And there's never been a need to burden the township police with patrolling the lake. So the logical question is, why is that? And the answer is because the assumed Bloomfield Township ordinance has created an inherent compatibility, a compatibility between the disparate swimmers and boaters and everyone who uses the lake. And that inherent compatibility has produced a stellar safety record. And that stellar safety record would be compromised if high-speed motorboats were allowed on Wing Lake. Secondly, I'd like to make the DNR aware of a rather unique characteristic of the lake. And due to the topology of the lake, there's an abundance of swimmers in the middle of the deeper portion of the lake. And as Jim Clellan mentioned, about 45% of the lake is less than 5 feet deep. And those shallow areas naturally are along the shoreline perimeter, where it's often not conducive to swimming because of the mucky bottom where you sink up to your knees, or the weeds that wrap around your legs, or the lily pads that cover the surface. So people tend to swim or migrate out to the middle of the lake, where they jump off of paddle boards and paddle boats, pontoon boats that may be anchored or drifting, or just air mattresses, inner tubes, or like Jeff Jones mentioned, just plain swimmers. We even have dogs swimming in the middle of the lake. So especially even on warm weekends, a Saturday or a Sunday, or on holidays, it's not uncommon to find a dozen or more swimmers just loafing around in the middle of the lake. So if high-speed gas or electric powered motorboats were allowed on the lake, their speed would be restricted around the 100-foot no wake zone around the perimeter of the lake, but they would want or tend to exercise their high speed in the middle of the lake where these swimmers that I just described occupy. So common sense would lead one to say that the introduction of high-speed power boats, motor or gas, were allowed in the close proximity to these swimmers. It would create a very unsafe condition and represent a real liability for any accident that may occur. So I'll close by saying that on behalf of the Wing Lake Inc. Board of Directors, who voted unanimously in support of the township proposed resolution, and representing Broughton Park subdivision, who fully supports the township resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for the documents you attached too. Robert Sorge, if I said it right, and I see you've got a document here, and then Dawn, I'm sorry, I can't read your writing, but you're going to be on deck. I don't know if it's Clegg? Okay, so I was kind of close. Okay, I apologize. You'll be on deck anyway. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Robert Sorge. I live at 5955 Wing Lake Road. I represent the 10 families that make up the Wingcroft Beach Association, 9 of whom own property on Wing Lake, as I do myself. As all of our families strongly support the township's ability to regulate gasoline-powered and high-speed watercraft on Wing Lake. I was fortunate to spend my first 21 years growing up on beautiful Wing Lake. I learned how to swim, fish, canoe, and sail, all safely because the lake users obeyed the township's ban on gasoline-powered watercraft. We didn't know at the time, it was unenforceable. We all followed it because it made sense for our small lake. I was again fortunate to move back into the home I grew up in 28 years ago. My wife and I safely paddleboard around the lake almost every day that the temperature's above 60 degrees. While paddling, we see lots of birds, animals, and fish. We see 4 of the 7 indigenous turtle species in our area. In July, in the shallow area just north of our beach, we see hatchling turtles grow bigger every day as they go into deeper water. We see many mallard ducks, Canada geese, mute swans. Our mute swan population is annually about 3 to 8 swans, but in the fall, we have up to 28 swans that gather in the lake prior to them flying south. Today, there were still 14 swans on the lake. We have ring-billed seagulls, double-crested cormorants, great blue herons, green herons, black-crowned night herons, red-winged blackbirds. We see great egrets, kildares, belted kingfishers, and occasionally in the early spring and late fall, we even see common loons on the lake. We've seen sandhill cranes, osprey, red-tailed hawks, and we even have a bald eagle that makes its home around the lake. Allowing gasoline-powered high-speed watercraft on our lake will be a safety issue because of the large number of waterfowl on our small lake. While paddleboarding, we also see a couple of people who swim across the lake every day, as well as kayakers, people fishing from small boats. Our grandchildren, nearly 3 and 8 years old, visit us often and spend many hours in the lake. My then 7-year-old granddaughter started paddleboarding with us around the lake last summer. Allowing gas-powered and high-speed watercraft on our small lake would endanger all of these people. Our beautiful lake is only 800 yards long and 650 yards wide. A jet ski or high-speed watercraft traveling at 55 miles an hour would travel the length of the lake in 28 seconds. Little time to avoid people, wildlife, rafts, or other boats. The operation of gas-powered high-speed watercraft on small lakes would shatter our tranquil, serene beauty that we have enjoyed for many years. For the above reasons, I and our beach association urge you to allow Bloomfield Township to regulate the operation of gas-powered and high-speed watercraft on our beautiful lake. It made sense when I was growing up, and it makes sense now.
Thank you. Judy Owen will be next on deck.
Okay. Hey there, I'm Dawn Clegg. I live at 4396 Geisler Court, and I'm actually a member of the Geisler Court Homeowners Association. I'm going to keep my comments brief. I think you can tell how much passion there is in this crowd for our beliefs about supporting the ordinance. I am one amongst them. I'm a mother of teenage boys who use that lake all the time. So they've grown up there, they've learned how to fish, swim, kayak, paddleboard, sail, all on that lake safely. It is hard for me to imagine a situation where they would be out there with speedboats going by. I don't know if you've ever been to Wing Lake. If you haven't, my other ask of you would be to come to our lake and really get out on the lake. I'd be happy to take you out on the lake on one of our kayaks or canoes. But that's just about all that belongs there, to be honest. It's a very small space. And people far, more research than I am have explained to you why, just the topography of the lake and the way it's made up. But I think if you just came and looked at it, you would also be able to see and come to the same conclusion. And I hope you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Judy Owen, and we own 2 lots on at the Wingcroft Association. And it's interesting because we've had these for 35 years, and when we went to close on our property in Foxcroft, they said, oh, we're having 2 closings because this includes 2 parcels on Wing Lake, which gave us the right to use the lake also. Something that we were so thrilled about because it was such, as you've heard, a quiet place. And it was a great safe place for our children to learn to swim and to boat and without motors. And it was just a wonderful place with good neighbors, and everyone seemed to care for it. One day I was talking with a bus driver who comes down Wing Lake Road, and she said, oh, I love to stop right here. And it would be, I think it was where the Wing, well, it was a little bit north of our beach. And the people, she would always show the children the swans that seemed to appear there every morning. And she just thought it was such a privilege for these kids to see this. When we are on the lake, we frequently observe the turtles, and they're not just turtles, they're turtles. And the bald eagle that nests there. There are so many wonderful things, and I'm only just I'm supporting the township's efforts to keep this as it is now, and I'm glad to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Grix, and then Jake Sherwer. Okay.
My name is Henry Grix. I live at 6100 Wing Lake Road, which is on direct access to the lake on the east side. And actually, I'm the second generation of our family to be there. You're hearing these multi-generational stories tonight. And we thank you all for actually extending your day to be here tonight and to help us protect our lake. I would echo all the comments that have already been said about safety, the shallowness of the lake. The only thing I'd want to add that I'm not sure has been emphasized enough is the water quality of Wing Lake has been good. And that's in part, I think, because we don't have gasoline leaks or oil leaks into the lake. And if anyone who would want a powerful boat to use on Michigan's lakes would likely want to use it somewhere else as well as Wing Lake, which we'd then, I think, have a risk that if they put that same boat into Wing Lake, they might bring into it zebra mussels or other invasive species, which are already a bit of a problem with the weeds. So I join those here tonight who would support the proposed ordinance, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. You said yes, and I know you. I still made my own notes. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and good to see all of the neighbors tonight. My name's Jake Serwer. I live at 5665 Collie Road, and it's part of the Westwood Manor Property Owners Association. And I'd like to start off by saying I moved with my wife to the area in 2020, mostly because of the lake and, you know, the fact that, as everyone has said tonight, the tradition of, you know, being able to be out there safely without worrying about high-speed boats is the big appeal. I think, you know, one thing, if I can bring something new to the table tonight, I see myself as part of the next generation who's moving into the area, and you hear of so much tradition of families who have been there for, you know, 60 years. And as someone who's new to the neighborhood, who also has neighbors who are all in this next generation with young kids, I have a 2-year-old daughter. We all enjoy being out there safely without the worry of a high-speed boat coming by or having to deal with oil ruining the natural habitat. Wing Lake, as everyone knows, is a tranquil piece of beauty in the area that is otherwise bustling and busy. And I think, you know, everyone can relate to driving down Wing Lake Road, especially right off of Corton, coming down that hill. It says Natural Beauty Road, as a friend and neighbor pointed out earlier. And, you know, I can't imagine driving down that, reading that sign, seeing the environment, like my other neighbor said, you know, come yourself, see what it's like. It just makes sense. It's common sense. You know, Wing Lake has historically served as a sanctuary, and as I said, offering that serene escape. And I would like to just echo the comments that I'm in support of what the township's trying to do to preserve the resolution as it stands. Thank you. And I'm going to submit this on a note on the record.
Thank you. Oops. Danny Walsh, are you almost ready? And then looks like, is it Brian New?
Let's let Brian go first. I'll go at the end of the red.
Okay. We're gonna shove her to the back, if you guys don't mind.
Give me time to think of something new to say since this will be the test.
This will be your, hey, this will be the
Eight times I did that.
this will be the grand poop. Yeah, this is it right here. This is the last one. So,
And I live near this one, so it's good.
all right. Go ahead, Brian.
Good evening. This is Brian New. I live at 5666 Westwood Court. And I just wanted to be here tonight to publicly express my support of the sheriff's statement, the clerk's statement, and the resolution how it's written. I echo all the points you've heard tonight, so I'm not going to repeat them, but safety is a chief concern. I think we have at least 4 swimming platforms across that lake all summer long, and just the idea of having your kids out there with high-speed jet skis or whatever just would ruin, I think, the beauty of the entire lake. So with that, I'll turn it over, and thanks for your time. Thanks for being here tonight, too.
Thank you. And again, I apologize if you get this one wrong. Is it Rebecca Radomski?
Rebecca Radomski.
Radomski? Okay, I was kind of close.
Hi. I live at 6485 Thurber Road, and unlike a lot of the people in this room tonight, I just moved there in June of this past year. But I am a member of the Wing Lake Property Owners Association, which hasn't been spoken up yet that I've heard tonight, so I wanted to give them a shout out and let you guys know that I support the proposed ordinance and the township. I've only enjoyed the lake so far for one season, but it was a wonderful one, and my family has enjoyed the kayaking, the quiet of the lake, the fishing, and stand-up paddleboards and other things safely, and that's what I would like to see continue, so thank you.
Thank you. Scott, is it Badness? Scott, come on up with 2 T's. And then is it Tom Barnes? Yeah. Will be on deck. Followed by Stephen Smith.
Hi, I'm Scott Bedness. I live at 6311 Wing Lake Road. I'd like to thank you both for taking your time this evening to hear all of the citizens, as well as taking your time last week to hear us. Appreciate you taking the time. I am another one of the multi-generational residents, so along with Robert and Henry, Wing Lake has been in my family for 55 years. My parents moved to the lake in 1969, and so I grew up as a child on Wing Lake, and lived there as a young adult up through going away to college, and then had the fortune of being able to move my family back to Wing Lake in 2014. So 30 years of my life living with access to the lake. And just wanted to again touch on the public safety issue related to the topography. The sections of the lake where you could actively operate a high-speed watercraft, and I really don't think it could be anything more than a jet ski, because there's not room for boats to get around in that area, or the electric surfboard, wakeboard we heard about earlier. It's just such a confined space to have more than one high-speed watercraft operating in one of those areas. There's essentially 2 areas that you can have a good time sailing on the lake, because that's what it allows for, where those depths are. It just would create a safety issue, not only for so many swimmers that we've heard about that are using it, whether they're the athletic ones swimming across the lake, or the ones that are just out having fun lounging off their pontoon boats or paddle boards. There's not enough space, and it'd be a huge public safety issue for just the watercrafts operating in that small area, in addition to the more potentially tragic event of hitting a swimmer. So echo all the comments related to the environment and the wildlife, which is wonderful, but as you said, that public safety is really the only way that you can make your decision. I just think it'd be a huge public safety problem if anything other than, the no wake, low speed pontoon boats that we currently have, that are basically on the same speed as a fishing rowboat with a car battery did back in 1974, is the way that we should keep that lake. So again, supporting supporting the township's draft ordinance to prevent anything faster, whether it's electric or gas, being on Wing Lake. Thank you.
Perfect.
Hi, my name's Tom Barnes. I'm at 6400 Navajo Court. First, I want to thank, the DNR, you guys, for being here and for putting so much time into this, and everyone back at your home office. And then I also want to thank the township, especially Martin, but all of you. Fantastic job, and all the people from Wing Lake Inc. or Wing Lake here, and then all the other lakes. You can tell how we feel. So thank everyone, really. And it's nice to meet many of you. My story is very similar. We moved here in 1968. I was a kid, grew up on the lake, returned and have been in the lagoon portion, the south end of the lake, for the last 25 years. My brother-in-law spoke. He said that his kids grew up on the lake. We all learned how to swim, all this stuff. So in any case, I'm representing Wing Lake Farms, which is 154 homes, and 28 of them are riparians on the lake, the west side, the south, and a lot of the lagoon. I'm also on Wing Lake Inc. and a riparian myself. The two things you talked about were compatibility of use if this ordinance isn't supported. And I do want to say our Wing Lake Farms fully supports the proposed ordinance, as does Wing Lake Inc., which you've heard, and personally ourselves. But in any case, compatibility of use, if this lake became an all sports lake, the compatibility of use would just go out the window. The way the lake is used is for swimming, sailing, paddle boarding, fishing, just hanging out. And if you introduced into this small body of water power boats or fast moving boats, like Andy talked about with technology now, they could even be electric, but if they're buzzing around, it is going to change the entire use of what the lake is now. So I don't think that power boats or high-speed boats are compatible with the use that exists there now, and I think they would ruin all those other uses, or at least dramatically degrade them. The second thing you talked about is public safety, and you've heard that there's a lot of people who swim in the lake. They're in paddle boards, they're in kayaks, and with high-speed things, that would be very dangerous. And I think one person said that the risk of an injury, our 70-year person, would be greatly increased. And no one wants to have someone get hurt or be killed. So thank you for your time, and thank everyone here.
Thank you. Stephen Smith.
I'm Stephen Smith. We're at 5623 Westwood Court. I am the president of the Westwood Manor Property Owners Association. That's 39 households that have a major lot on the lake. I'm also a past president of Wing Lake Inc. We've lived on the lake for 35 years. And knowing about the lake and health and safety being a very prime concern, we believe that allowing fast boats, boats with other fuels, would be very, very dangerous. The lake has a very good ecosystem, which Wing Lake Inc. has maintained for a long time. Henry noted that having boats from elsewhere come in and out regularly, which a faster motorboat would most likely do, because it would be very difficult to use a high-speed motorboat on Wing Lake, could bring in things that could be very dangerous to the health of the lake. Not to mention the health of people using the lake, which Wing Lake Inc. has spent a lot of time on. We have kids who swam in the lake. They could go all over the place. Our association has a dock and a raft on the lake. And a fast boat going between our beach and the raft would be incredibly dangerous for everyone. And there would be no way of avoiding it if they were allowed to go those speeds. Our association supports the township resolution, and that has been agreed to by everyone. And we really appreciate the fact that everyone is here and respecting the health and safety and appropriate uses of Wing Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna apologize again right up front. Paul Wojcicki? Was I anywhere close? Okay. And then Joe Nelson will be on deck. Oh, we got it. Okay, we're gonna put that one in front of Valerie. She can wait. Go ahead, sir.
It's Paul Wojcicki, and
Wojcicki,
5544 Lakeview Drive. Thank you very much for coming and listening. I think I've agreed with everything that's been said tonight. What are the chances of that nowadays? But my comment is going to be very, it's anecdotal, personal. So I'm just focused on me. And we've heard about the young adults and the kids who swim across the lake. I'm an older adult and I swim halfway across. I flail around in the middle of the lake and then I go back. It's the single most enjoyable recreational thing I think I do, other than family, of course. And I know I overestimate my own athletic ability, but I think I can handle other swimmers, sailboaters, and I can avoid them. But I think I'd be too challenged by motorized watercraft. And then just not so I'm so selfish, my wife will join me, our adult kids will join me, and we have grandchildren now, and they're going to join me. And so that's the sole focus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Joseph Nelson. I live at 5675 Foreman Drive, and I'm here to represent the Foreman Wing Lake Homeowners Association. I am the Vice President and Secretary of the HOA, which has 31 lots and lakefront homeowners since 2018. I've spoken with numerous fellow homeowners and read several of their emails and letters. All support Bloomfield Township in the effort to limit motor power and limit speeds on the lake to current levels. More pointedly, though, nobody on our board could remember a situation where anybody ever asked for more powerful motors or faster boats. We couldn't remember that. Selfishly, my wife, 21-year-old son, 15-year-old daughter enjoy the lake as is. Swimming, paddleboarding, kayaking, enjoying time on our electric pontoon boat that we affectionately say goes the speed of smell, as it has a peak speed of about 4 miles per hour. Often we see swimmers or kids on boards and we adjust our course.
The slower speeds make everyone feel safe. We also enjoy the views and sounds from our home every day. We don't want to see more milfoil or damaged shorelines. And since we love the peace and quiet, we definitely don't want to hear jet skis or powerboats. I'd also like to echo the concern expressed earlier about electric surfboards, or sometimes they're called jet boards, or who knows what kind of technology is going to come out in the next several years. Although electric, their speeds up to 35 miles per hour would be terrible for our little lake. Please help us maintain the integrity of the lake, its serenity, and the safety of all who enjoy Wing Lake. In summary, the Foreman Wing Lake Homeowners Association supports the Bloomfield Township proposed ordinance, which is intended to prohibit higher speed watercraft on Wing Lake. And we thank you guys for coming in here in the same speech 26 times.
Remember, this is the 10th public hearing, so it's all good. Anthony Targan, if I said it right, and then Valerie, we'll let you go after that. You're on deck.
Hi, I'm Anthony Targan, 6290 Wing Lake Road. My wife Holly and I live right on the lake by the park at the south end of the lake. We've moved here 2 years ago, specifically because we wanted to be on a no sports lake. In fact, for 17 years, we had a home on Maxfield Lake, which is in Heartland, Michigan, and it's about the same size as Wing Lake. And I'll spare you all of our stories about how aggravating it was to have jet skis buzzing by, and it was a real safety issue, and I guess that's what I want to focus on, the safety and the enforcement. There, because all sports were allowed, even though the homeowners had agreed that there were periods of time where there should be no wake, and that motorboats had to be a certain distance from the shore, there was no one there to enforce it. And the enforcement was the key issue because it basically pitted neighbor against neighbor. We had one situation where our next door neighbor's teenage son went on a joyride and went a little too close to the dock for another resident's liking, and that resident cut the fuel lines of our neighbor's boat. And you introduce alcohol into situations where people are going at fast speeds in small areas where you have small children and even adults swimming, and it's a recipe for disaster. So I won't belabor the point. We moved here specifically to get away from that and to be on a lake where people could feel comfortable and safe. And I think everybody else has said it more eloquently than I, but obviously I support the township's regulations, and I hope that you guys will do what is best for the community and let the community make its own decision in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready? Okay, so
I've been waiting for this one.
It's going to be different than the rest because I can never get it quite the same.
Sure.
But Valerie Murray, Bloomfield Township trustee. So as you know, but I don't know if everybody here knows, I've been through all 10 of these meetings with this fine gentleman running our show tonight. And the bottom line is, this is about safety. This lake is 110 acres, I believe, which is less than half the size of Walnut Lake, which I have been a member on for 40 years. The sheriff, they just don't have enough sheriff. They don't have enough budget. Walnut Lake is dangerous. We have to be very careful, very cautious. You do not swim the lake unless you come in a non-wake time. I really appreciate what the residents are saying, and I'm envious of the fish, the turtles, the peace, the tranquility that they have there. And I can tell you that on Walnut Lake, we obviously have the issue of people bringing boats in and out more often. And we have invasive species, we have zebra mussels, and the lake is dying because some people are not careful boaters, boats leak, they spill gas. Not to say that I still don't love the lake, but I totally understand, and the safety issue really is number one. So I'm totally in support of the township resolution that we maintain local control, because really you guys can't have a one size fits all. There's so many different size lakes and so many different communities. So you've heard, we've only had in 10 meetings, one resident come from a different lake and speak to wanting an all sports lake. And I really think that that speaks volumes for safety and what your residents want and what we want to try and do to help support our residents. Thank you. And I'm not coming back.
Does Michael come back in? Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna save the best for last. So you're second to last. So you're second to best. So come on up, Mike. Yes.
I thought you were talking about like 15 minutes. Yes. Okay.
All right. Good evening, Lieutenant and Sergeant. I am Michael Shostak, the Township Treasurer. Thank you for coming tonight to Bloomfield Township, the community that we all love and call home. Thank you to the residents who came out tonight to speak so passionately about their lake, and I wholeheartedly support them. I've been a township official for 7 years, and we constantly tussle with Lansing on the idea of local control, where we at the township are in the best position to craft policy. I was pleased to vote for the board's resolution that is before the DNR now. I know that state law clearly provides what factors you at the DNR are allowed to use to make lake and watercraft policy, however much we in local government disagree. Your preliminary report presents the physical characteristics of this lake. Specifically, Wing Lake is just 110 acres. I note for the record that the DNR has found that other lakes in Oakland County meet the threshold to be regulated as no wake or no gas motor lakes. These are Green Lake in West Bloomfield Township, Sears Lake in Milford Township, and Square Lake in Orion Township. As a reference, Green Lake is roughly the same size as Wing Lake. I would also like to add that our amazing first-class police and fire are not currently equipped or staffed to handle water-based patrols. We would likely rely on the county sheriff to provide this service at a substantial cost to the community. I will submit some further remarks in writing by December 20th, but on a personal note, I live across the street from Wing Lake, and I love driving up the hill at the corner of Walnut Lake Road and Franklin, with the lake spanning the horizon. That gives me a reminder of up north. And I feel that every morning as I drive here to Township Hall each morning. Therefore, I'm here to proudly support our township residents in their desire to keep their lake quiet and safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a different last?
As of right now, no, you are the last comment sheet. So
Now you've been,
Madam
with
Supervisor,
bated breath, you have been waiting for this
drum
version.
roll, please.
So, as you know, I've given you the safety reasons of overall lakes, but it hits a little closer to home tonight. Again, Danny Walsh, Township Supervisor. I've lived on Wing Lake Road for 51 years. So this ordinance says there's not many things that are older, but this ordinance is. You have people who have lived here even longer. But even more important, I do have friends in this room that knew me in high school, so they know the same family that lost 2 children on Sylvan Lake because that family grew up here. So from a safety standpoint, I'm begging you as always, jet skis are not very safe because he was on a jet ski with the tubing. So even though Wing Lake may not have boats, jet skis, and if a jet ski doesn't see and they go by, now you have a second issue because now I'm hearing that this lake is 5 feet deep. What happens when he veers off this time? Not only did they hit a child, but that jet skier could get hurt as well. So now you have an issue of double safety. The other issue, and it's funny, you mentioned up north as well. Again, I grew up knowing public lakes because although I live on Wing Lake Road, I didn't have the blessing of being on the lake. So I only know public lakes, and I can promise you, us public lake kids don't know how to swim the way they do. The reason is it's not safe. So we can tread water, we can jump off a float, tread water, we can up along the shore, maybe do a little bit. We certainly can't go, even on my best AAU athletic days, we could not go across lake because we never learned that because it wasn't safe enough. So another safety is when we talk about uses and compatible uses, as somebody pointed out in the last one, there are a lot of lakes we can choose in Oakland County for all sports. There aren't many that feel like up north. Another use, in addition to actually learning how to really swim and not just doggy paddle and tread water, and paddle board and canoeing. On canoeing, these are the only lakes that I know of in our area where you can bird watch. So now you're talking about another use that you can do only here and you can't do in other areas, because cranes and eagles don't tend to like jet skis and power boats. So I'm asking you from a safety perspective and also from the usage perspective, and frankly, because these people know the family that I've been begging you to think about when you think about all sports, because there are people here that know them as well. Please, please honor their wishes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who came in maybe midway through this meeting that has, or somebody who's been here who has not made a comment that would like to make some sort of a statement or a comment up there? I'm still gonna need one of these things from you just to have it on the, so we've got it on the record, you know, the documentation as well too. Anyone? Okay, I heard it a couple of times here tonight, and I truly appreciate it. The individuals, you know, your appointed and elected officials in the township officials, they did a heck of a job with this, the organizing and the planning of these meetings, scheduling certain, I mean, obviously we ran over an hour. That was by, I mean, they scheduled these meetings by design for each one of these, the timing of it and stuff, and it worked out just perfect. So hats off. I know you worked tirelessly with Corporal Miller over the last couple of weeks to get all this stuff, and I just want to personally say thank you, and I appreciate it. You know, the snacks in the back, again, just what an awesome touch that is. You know, when the first time we came in last Thursday, I saw that out there, and he made a comment. He says, "Well, people are a lot less angry if you feed them." Gee, you know what? I learned something new. You know, I've been around here, been doing this for over 30 years, law enforcement, and I never really. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. So, but hats off to you. I do appreciate it. With that being said, for those that were here at the ending of the last meeting, you'll hear this again. I thank you for your comments and your cooperation. We appreciate your interest and that you took time here tonight to be with us and to give us your input. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit written comments by email no later than 5 p.m. on December 20th, 2023, just before Christmas. Mailed comments, though, make sure that they are postmarked before or by the 15th of December, if you'd be so kind. Following the closing of the public comment period, the 30-day public comment period, we will review all pertinent information and submit our recommendation to the township on the requested proposal on a later date. I know that Martin has already asked me, well, what's going to be a later date? I am guessing it'll probably take a couple of months. And again, we have to treat each one of these 10 public hearings individually, and these lakes individually. You know, it's not going to be a blanket that, you know, if we say no purple boats, that's no purple boats for every single one of these. You know, each lake, you know, may have something different. You know, that we recommend. So we have to treat each one of them different. We also have several of these coming in from other parts of the lake, or other parts of the state, including other ones in Oakland County as well. And this is just a part of my job. Well, this isn't my job to do these public hearings, but because of certain circumstances, I got to come here and be with you folks for the last couple of days, and I appreciate everyone being very courteous and professional about it and expressing yourselves as well too. So with that, this hearing is adjourned. Have a good night and a safe trip home. Thank you.